the CDO from the East Ocean. Simon, welcome to our stage for our opening remarks.
Thank you. First, on behalf of East Ocean Group, I want to welcome all of you to our 2026 kickoff meeting. Usually, we host our kickoff meeting in early February, but this year we have a big Chinese New Year dinner in February with over 600 people attending this event. So we postpone our kickoff meeting today. But never too late to wish you every success in the year of the horse. First, I want to thank you. Thank you. We have really appreciate your business. I also want to thank John Sermon, President and CEO of Import, and all partners, our partners from the following 7 carriers who have come to attend this meeting. Let's give them a warm applause, please. Also, I want to thank East Ocean team, Jenny Lu, Linda Lin, Debbie Chen. And also, I want to thank our new business team, headed by Jenny Ron, who has been working with us for nearly 25 years. Let's give them also a warm applause, please. Also, I would mention that all our case managers have got a NELBA case manager certification. The Year of the Horse is our 14th anniversary of East Ocean Group. East Line Producer Group, Ocean Producer Group, and Sky Talk Producer Group are all founded 15 years ago, in 2011, the year of the baby. At that time, I still had a lot of hair on my head. In the following year, Year of the Dragon, East Ocean Producer Group was founded by Vincent, Jack, and me. Jack is on jury duty today. He cannot make it. Vincent will come later. East Ocean Group. At the very beginning, we only got a few general agency contracts. First with ING, and then Aviva, Supreme Mutual Life, and AIG Partners Group. It became a boutique general agency with 2 offices both in Chinatown, Manhattan. In 2014, Year of the Horse, we joined AIMCO Group, a leading national insurance distribution organization, and became a full-fledged brokerage general agency, doing business throughout the 50 states and representing dozens of major life insurance companies such as Allianz, Nationwide, and Spectrum. Becoming a member of AIMCO is a milestone for East Ocean. Since then, our business has increased significantly year after year, with AIMCO Group behind us. In the same year, East Ocean Group became a member of NELBA, National Association of Independent Life Brokerage Agencies. Since then, I've attended NELBA annual meetings 12 years in a row. Never missed them. In 2017, Year of the Rooster, we opened an office in Flushing, Queens. In 2018, Year of the Dog, we became an equity member of AIMCO. It's another milestone for East Ocean Group. Among the 40 members under AIMCO Group, there are only 28 equity members. In 2021, Year of the Ox, we merged our 2 offices in Chinatown and opened an office in Syracuse, New York. 2022, year of the tiger, we formed an alliance with All Win Group, utilizing a team builder to recruit and train brand new brokers. Its motto are All Win, Win All. 共享共赢，诚信天下 ，and all in, all win， 诚信全力以赴，共创辉煌。In 2023, year of the rabbit, AWG acquired an office space as its main office at the same building in Manhattan, where East Ocean Group main office is located. Since 2024, year of the dragon, with the grand opening of its main office in Manhattan, AWG has successfully established 5 national director teams and team members and productions have grown steadily. 2025, year of the snake, AWG acquired additional office space next to East Ocean Fashion Arts and moved its main office from Manhattan to Flushing. East Ocean got into health insurance business by partnering with United Healthcare and Health First. With increase in annuity sales, we have signed more annuity GA contracts among the 25 annuity carriers under AIMCO Group. The following are our major annuity carriers: Allianz Life, Corporate Financial, National Life, and Nationwide, to name just a few. Early this year, Year of the Horse, East Ocean has got a much bigger platform when AIMCO Group was acquired by Integrity Group, a leading distributor of life health and provider of health management and retirement planning solutions. Later, John Sciambra, CEO and President of AIMCO, will talk more about it. This partnership enables AIMCO to leverage Integrity's technology, product, wealth management platform to enhance, support its member firms. Presently, we have represented 40 major life insurance and annuity companies. The pandemic has changed almost everything, but one thing which remains unchanged is our vision. Our vision is simple: growth, value, opportunity. We aspire to be a premier independent BGA for the Asian market throughout the United States by providing a simple, streamlined, and smart platform to our producers and helping them grow their business. We want to make sure you achieve both personal and business goals, benefit from values that we have brought to you, and capture the opportunities we have explored. We know by helping you to grow, we'll grow. By helping you to succeed, we'll succeed. We truly believe the motto of East Ocean Group: alone, we're just a drop of water. Together, we are East Ocean, 东方海洋，一水牵羊. Together, we will succeed in our business to build financial freedom for everyone. Thank you. Thank you again. Today, over the next 6 hours, we'll have 2 sections: a morning section and afternoon section, with 10 speakers from 7 carriers in total. Between these 2 sections, we have a 1-hour lunch break, and each section with a 10-minute break. So just relax and enjoy the meeting. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for the story of the Eastern Ocean. And now let's give Simon another applause. Okay, so let's start with our speaker sections. First of all, let's welcome Winnie from the National Life. We are very familiar with her, right? Okay, she will speak in Mandarin. Okay, 大家熟悉的国语，今天我们用Winnie，欢迎我们的Winnie用我们国语为我们今天 讲述我们的 National Life 的产品。
好的，谢谢燕，谢谢。嗨，大家好，早上好。我昨天晚上有听人家讲说，上个礼拜是不是天气都还很冷？然后因为我住在南加州，我住在圣地亚哥，然后有人说，你把好天气给带来了，所以我真的很开心，这里现在是温暖的。因为我在冷的地方真的是有点活不下去，所以很开心今天可以加入，就是我们 East Ocean 的 Kick Off， 然后有这么好的天气，然后又有这么多人，人气非常的旺。那今天呢，因为我知道我们已经一阵子没见了，我要从 National Life 国家人寿可以带给各位很多最新的 updates， 我们最新的一些消息，公司在发生什么事。审核的标准有没有任何的更改？所以我们现在就话不多说，我们马上进入正题。好，去年呢，因为就像刚刚 Simon 讲的，虽然说我们现在在4月，但是我们还在 Kick Off Season 里面。那有一个重点就是让大家知道，去年国家人寿的成绩如何？去年呢，我们还是稳坐我们在指数型保单 IUL 这个市场里面。市占率的第1名 ，OK， 所以如果你看市占率，我们已经连续5年都是第1名了。那这是怎么看的呢？如果你看总生效的保单数量，还有总生效的死亡赔偿金的总额，我们在过去5年都是第1名 ，OK。那如果你把眼界放大，看在全美所有的人寿保险公司里，这就不管是不是指数型保单，whole life，variable 各式各样的人寿公司，你会看到我们这里很谦虚的说，我们现在是 top 10，但让大家有一个概念，我已经加入国家人寿11年的时间了。11年前，当我刚加入的时候。我们大概在30名左右。那今天我们谦虚的说 Top 10， 但其实今天我们坐在第7名。OK， 对，所以我们现在已经是全美第7大的人寿保险公司。那从我刚加入30名到现在，真的是一个非常大的要紧。那接下来我们就会一直不停的讲到今天的重点，就是到底为什么国家人寿可以在过去10年，又或者是更久的时间，我们可以有这么快速的成长，很稳健快速的成长。好，然后刚刚也有人来问我，那国家人寿除了 IUL， 你们有卖 annuity 吗？答案是当然有，而且我们的 annuity 方面还做得很好。我们公司主打呢，就是我们的 fixed index annuities， 所以一样是指数型方面的年金产品。但是我知道我们今天在纽约，对不对？大家都知道纽约有很多规范，那纽约呢，没有 index annuities， 所以这个话要讲在前头。但是我知道在座各位有很多人有外州的客人，那就让你知道我们公司的年金是很值得你去探究。然后去研究这些产品的。好，我们现在呢，再来看看，我们在所有全美主要的评级机构里面，我们都是1等1的好学生。你会看到 A+、A+、A1 Comdex 是90分，然后还有很多主流的媒体都有给我们不同的这个奖励或者是赞誉。你看，去年 America's Best Insurance Company， 这是 Forbes 给我们的 title， 我们是唯一一间就是人寿保险公司得到这个殊荣的。那当然还有一些其他的这些记录，你也可以跟你的客人分享。好，我刚刚讲了，国家人寿在过去10年以上，我们有非常耀眼的成绩，有非常稳健快速的成长。那到底是为什么呢？我们现在先把我们的眼界拉高 ，OK。首先，在全美，你放眼望去，全美总共有719间的人寿保险公司。你可能会说，哇，这么多间，对不对？那让你知道，在1990年代，也大概30多年前，全美其实有超过2000间的人寿保险公司。所以其实我们的 industry 已经去无存精了，对不对？已经 trim down 了。 现在719间里面绝大多数都是上市的人寿保险公司，只有110间是互惠的人寿保险公司。那我相信大家应该都知道这个差别是什么。对于一间互惠的人寿保险公司来说，那国家人寿 National Life 也是一间互惠的保险公司。对于我们来说，我们唯一要服务的对象就是我们的保单持有人，对不对？我们没有股民我们没有就是 shareholders 这些不同群人，我们没有这些人，所以我们在上层一直到下面，不管做的任何决策，都是为了我们的保单持有人好，为了我们真正的客人好，所以这一点是很重要的。那再看来，你看这么多的110间的互惠人寿保险公司里面，有31间有 offer 一些生前福利，不能说很完善，反正只要他们有 offer 任何的末期慢性，你知道这样子的生前福利，我们就把它算进去，总共有31间。但是我们就直接破题啦，只有1间，也就是国家人寿，我们有最完善的生前福利。OK， 那我相信很多人在座应该就是都熟悉 National Life 的都知道，我们的生前福利呢，真的是非常的完善，不管是纽约还是在外州。那我今天先讲的就是我们在美国49州大家都有的生前福利，我们有 terminal 末期 chronic 慢性 critical illness 重大疾病 critical injury 重大伤害 Alzheimer's 阿兹海默症，还有一个不孕症叫 fertility journey rider， 然后最后一个呢是我们的 lifetime income benefit rider。这个生前福利是让你的客人可以从他的 IUL 里面拿保证收入，一直到他的最后一天。OK， 这个是大家眼前这看到的呢，是今天我们在绝大多数的州里面都有的生前福利。但是我们在去年底，所以不久前，我们加入了2个新的生前福利。OK， 那等一下我会讲到，但是我也要泼一下冷水，因为你知道在纽约，对不对？我们今天在纽约，所以我要一直提醒大家，在纽约这些生前福利里面呢，现有的我们就没有阿兹海默症，也没有重大伤害。那新加的这2个呢，纽约也是没有的。OK， 但是我知道，为了我们的外州客人，我们还是要继续 cover 下去，对不对？好。那既然刚刚讲到了有这么多的生前福利，我要讲一个很重要的数字，因为当你跟客人坐下来的时候，你告诉他，对，国家人寿有末期慢性你知道各式各样的生前福利，讲得很开心，可是到最后，其实客人只在乎一件事情，就是当我生病的时候，当事情真的发生的时候，国家人寿会做理赔吗？答案就在这里，答案就在大家眼前的。122个 million，1.22亿，这个是一个很重要的数字，因为我们公司在过去1年，2025年里面只有1年的时间哦，这就是我们做的生前福利的总理赔数。OK， 122个 million，1.22亿。OK， 所以这个时候你就可以跟客人分享。这是我们实际做理赔的数字，非常重要。好，那接下来我要带到的呢，就是我们公司非常重视我们的 multicultural markets， 各式各样文化的这样的市场，尤其是我们的华人市场，因为我们非常的知道，在美国其实绝大多数的人口，不要讲绝大多数，100%的人口成长，其实就是来自于我们讲少数族裔 multicultural 这样子的市场。OK， 那当中呢，华人又在我们的金融市场里面是非常重要的，我们是一个很大的就是 sales 的推波助澜的一个动力。那么我相信大家也会发现，我们公司有非常多的 support， 不管是我会讲中文， 我们的 sales desk 上面有几位会讲中文，我们客服里面也有会讲中文的人，所以当你打进来我们公司的时候，不管是在哪一个阶段，你都可以接触到帮你用中文服务的人。OK， 那我相信这个对您来说，对您的客人来说，都是一个很大的益处。好，刚刚讲了这么多关于公司我们的一些辉煌的记录，然后让你知道我们最著名的就是我们的生前福利。那接下来呢，要看到的就是我们有什么样的人寿产品。所以我们先讲人寿。大家看到其实有非常多的产品，对不对？我们不管是 IUL 指数型保单，我们就有目前我们有3个个人的指数型保单产品。OK， 这个已经从过去的2个现在变3个了，等一下我们会再讲。那我们也有 Term， 也有 UL， 也有 Whole Life。因为我知道在纽约 Whole Life 其实这个竞争性是很好的。然后呢，我们最好的地方是我们所有你看到的这些产品，除了我们的 Survivorship IUL， 除了这个 IUL 就是共同持有这个 IUL 呢，所有的都有一样的生前福利。那在 Term 上面，这个就很吸引人啦，对不对？如果今天你的客人口袋比较紧，你可以让他先买一个 Term， 有所有的生前福利的保障。等到以后他想要把它转成 IUL 的时候，他可以把所有的生前福利一并的带过去，对不对？何乐不为？好，我刚刚讲到了，今天我们有3个 IUL 指数型保单个人的产品。OK， 过去大家可能熟悉的都是我们的旗舰商品 Flex Life， 还有我们用来做大单的 IUL 叫 Summit Life。那在去年呢，我们加入了一个即时批准的 IUL 产品，就是我们的 Rapid Protect。你看，顾名思义，它叫 Rapid， 它非常快，它就是客人只需要通过17个问题，他在申请书上面只要回答17个问题，然后在几分钟之内，我们就可以让客人知道他的这个保单有没有被批准。那这个产品呢，专门是给就是客人很想要，非常快，我今天我就要拿到一张保单 ，OK， 我等都不要等。那最多呢就是买到50万，然后最好的 rating 是 standard，OK。那你会说，因为我常常收到这个 feedback， 就是在华人的市场里面，很多人都说，哎，我怎么想不到哪个客人适用嘛？对不对？总觉得还是去 Flex Life 比较好，也有现金值，也有所有的生前福利。那 Rapid Protect 呢？它是这样的，它很及时，它也有所有的生前福利，然后它是一个很好的 Term Alternative。意思是，如果你有一个客人，他很坚决告诉你，哎，我就是不相信 IUL， 不相信永久型保单，就是主要 IUL 里面现金值是什么，我不相信它。OK， 我宁愿自己去投资，但是我想要我的计划是一直买 Term， 对不对？我今天35岁，我要先买一个20年的 Term， 以后再买一个20年的 Term， 然后那个第2个20年过期了，再买一个15年的 Term。我的计划就是一直不停的买 Term。首先，你告诉他，你第一个 Term 过期的时候，你都不知道还是不是健康的，对不对？那既然你不知道以后会发生什么事，我们推荐你从第一天不要想一直买 Term 了，直接买 Rapid Protect， 因为它是一个永久型的 IUL， 但是用最少的保费，它的保费少到可以比它一直买 Term 都还要少。OK， 我们加起来就是我们有算了一些例子，你买 Rapid Protect， 你从头到尾的缴的钱，比你买3次 Term 的减少1半以上。所以如果你有这样的客人，就让他来买 Rapid Protect。好，我刚刚讲到了，我们去年底加入了2个新的生前福利，这2个就在这里。第一个叫做 Premium Chronic Care。纽约没有。第2个叫做 Compassionate Care Program， 纽约也没有。但是为了我们外州的客人，我们一定要稍微讲一下。所以第一个 Premium Chronic Care，PCC， 它是这样的，它是我们原本现在现有的 Chronic Care 慢性疾病的一个升级版。 客人得要付费才可以使用。所以我现在退一步讲，我刚刚讲的所有我们现有的生前福利都是不用付费的，都是 free 的，你1毛钱都不用付就可以有这些生前福利。当然前提是客人要 qualify， 对不对？好，那这个 PCC 呢，你要付费，然后它总额可以拿到的这个生前福利的 benefit 比原本的多1倍，原本的最多拿到手是150万 ，PCC 可以让他拿到300万。PCC 呢，从第一天你就知道它是一个 dollar to dollar 的一个 benefit，OK， 所以我们没有在进行折扣的。你第一天就选好你要2%还是4%，然后最多拿到300万。所以等于是客人他如果今天买一个 PCC 加在他的保单里面，他就知道如果有一天我有慢性疾病，我确可以拿到多少钱。我们叫这个叫 dollar to dollar， 对不对？就没有 discounting， 因为我们所有其他的生前福利都是 discounting。OK，discounting 的意思是，今天客人他如果生病了，我们会当下看他的死亡赔偿金里面有多少钱，然后 apply 一个 discount， 给这个死亡赔偿金打个折扣，然后来决定他的这个生前福利的 payout 是多少。OK， 所以一般的原理是这样，但是这个 PCC 就不是了，它就是 dollar to dollar。OK， 那 Compassionate Care Program 呢是一个家庭照护的一个平台，它里面提供各式各样的服务。那这个呢就不是说我加速的理赔还是什么的，不是，它就是你可以透过，因为你有国家人寿的 Flex Life 旗舰商品，你可以用这个平台，它的用意就是这样而已。好，那我们刚刚讲到了这所有的今天的生前福利，对不对？但是纽约当然要记得哪一个有，哪个没有，你要稍微标记一下。但是在所有49个州外州的客人，基本上你都有这所有的生前福利。我也要再提醒一个，就是 PCC 我刚讲的这个升级版的慢性疾病，现在在纽约没有，然后在加州也没有，但是所有其他州，我相信有人是从 New Jersey 来 ，right， 从这个就是费城什么这附近的，那些都是有的。好，那我们刚刚有提到这个特别的附加条约，它跟我们疾病方面的生前福利很不一样，对不对？疾病方面是如果客人生病了，但是如果今天客人都没有生病，他都活得好好的，很健康，对不对？那他现在已经拥有他这张 IUL 保单已经好多年了，然后他即将要退休了。他在退休的时候，他可以选择使用他保单里面一个附加条约，叫做 Lifetime Income Benefit Rider。这个是一个保证收入的附加条约。客人在买这张保单的时候，不用付费，他不用付费就可以有这个附加条约在他的保单里面。但是当他想要使用的时候，就会有一个费用，那个费用呢是0.65%。OK， 好，我们再更细讲这个保证收入的条约，它是这样运作的。我刚讲买的时候不用钱，对不对？你要用就要缴这个费用。那什么时候可以使用呢？首先，客人要至少60岁，保单要至少已经生效10年了。然后还有一个很重要的，客人得要符合大家看到这里有一个比例原则，叫做现金值跟死亡赔偿金，在当下客人要使用的时候，要符合一个比例原则。它一旦符合了，那我们就可以启动这个保证收入。好，这个比例原则我用白话再多讲一点，解释一下。它的意思就是，这个客人当初在 fund 他的 policy， 他在放钱进去他的 policy 的时候，必须要是我们所谓的 healthily funded， 就是他要是很健康的。我们绝对推荐是在 target 或以上 ，OK， guideline level， 这当然最好，越靠近 MAC non-MAC 最好。 OK， 你越 overfund， 它就越保险，它就越可以符合这个比例原则。那在这样的前提之下呢，我们绝对是，就是说，如果这个客人觉得他以后要用这个保证收入的话，那麻烦你就尽量 overfund。OK， 那一旦符合了，好，一切都符合了以后，客人就可以开始拿他的保证收入。那这时候很重要，你第一天，你今天跟客人坐下来讲这张保单的时候，你在推销给他的时候，你一定要强调这个保证的部分是在你用的那一天才开始保证的，它不是你今天跟我买的时候，我就跟你保证你以后可以拿到多少。OK， 因为我们都不知道市场的指数的状况会是什么，对不对？所以要你在拿的那一天，国家人寿就会来计算，然后来决定我接下来可以保证你多少的这个保证收入的金额。好，没关系，我们回来，可能有人在很激烈的讲话。OK， 好，所以这个保证收入呢，我现在来举个例子。我们今天计算的结果，好，今天客人想要拿了，对不对？我们依照今天的现金值去看，我们可以保证这个客人1个月可以拿到2000块。那我们接下来每个月就会给客人2000、2000、2000，一直给下去。好，每5年我们会做一个重新计算，我们会来看以5年以后的现金值。那个保证收入的金额有没有改变？如果它变少了，那我们就不理了。那如果变多了，我们会通知客人，就说：请问现在变成2200了，你要不要2200？OK， 那是客人自己的决定。因为你要记得，不管客人用什么样的形式拿他的现金值，他的现金值跟他的死亡赔偿金都会一直在递减的，对不对？这2个 account 会一直在递减。好。假设今天客人就说好，不用，我不用2000块，我不用2200，我只要2000块，那我们就继续的，每5年都会进行一个重新计算。好，那现在我们假设客人已经拿了30年的这个保证收入了，每个月就是拿2000块。那现在30年以后，是不是他的现金值跟他死亡赔偿金已经就是降到很低很低的数字了，对不对？这个时候。我们国家人寿有一个很好的机制，我们会冻结这张保单。我们在什么时候冻结它呢？就是现金值1000块，又或者是死亡赔偿金15000的这个时候，我们就会冻结这张保单，让客人还是一样继续的拿他的保证收入。然后，不管如何，就是从头到尾他的保证收入都是不用缴税的，都是 tax free。可是他最后。不管怎么样，都还是会有一个15000死亡赔偿金的这样一张保单，我们叫它 guarantee no lapse。你的保单绝对不会 lapse 掉，你1毛钱都不用再放进去。OK， 所以这一个保证收入的这个功能呢，真的是非常的好，就是很多客人一听到有这个功能就觉得好，我觉得我可能以后不见得会用。但是我觉得我有这个选项是一个很好的选项，对不对？因为谁知道，或许有一天那天到了，客人要用钱了，他打算，我不要，我要一次拿一大笔钱，对不对？我不要用这个慢慢拿的保证收入，这也是有可能的。但是就多了一个选项。好，我们再紧接着讲 underwriting， 因为我今天真的要讲非常多的主题。刚刚听到了这么多好的产品、好的功能、生前福利。那我们要来看现在审核的标准是什么？我们现在国家人寿可以做到500万不用体检，过去有好多年都是300万，对不对？我看到很多人眼睛一亮，对，我们现在可以做到500万不用体检，纽约也是一样的 ，OK， 所以500万0到50岁，51到60 300万不用体检，61到65 25万不用体检 ，OK。这个时候是一个很好讲小孩的保单的规则的一个时刻，那就是呢，我们先讲全美49州，我们先不要讲纽约 ，OK， 我们先讲一般其他的州，小孩呢最多可以买到300万，如果父母完全没有保额的话，小孩 可以买到50万，其实已经很好了，对不对？我们非常大方。小孩在49周，如果要买50万，有01块，一直到100万的话，父母要有同等的保额。如果他要买100万01块，一直到最高额的300万，父母得要有双倍的保额。OK， 这个是外州。纽约呢，我相信大家都知道，有这个百分比，要看几岁到几岁。一刚开始25%，到50%，这样一直增加上去。所以纽约基本上你很难买小孩买大的。但是我刚刚跟其中有一位在场的来宾呢，我们有谈论到，其实纽约还有一个很多人不知道的规则，关于小孩的，就是如果你是用爷爷奶奶来 own 的话 ，grandparent 来 own 的话，那其实你就可以不用用这个纽约的规则了。我不知道有没有很多人知道这件事情，但是就算是祖父母来 own 这个保单，我们永远都还是要 verify 父母的保额，这个是一定的 ，OK？ 所以就记得，如果是祖父母来 own 在纽约的话，你可以 bypass， 你可以就是用一般的规则，而不是用纽约的规则。好，对，我看有人眼睛一亮了，因为听得懂就听得懂，因为你就知道就可以买大了，对不对？因为不然纽约一般来说买不大的。好，所以希望大家有把这件事情记下来。那再来讲，外国人这方面，外国人我们公司我相信各位非常熟悉了，很友善。我们公司呢，基本上这个客人，如果在美国过去12个月内住满了8个月，不管他的身份是什么，对我们来说就是一个美国人。OK， 所以你看，不管 Visa 什么是怎么样，就是美国人。好，我们现在来看真正的外国人，就是没有住在美国的。那这样子的外国人呢，我们就会要求他这6个跟美国的连接，你要至少有1个。OK， 有房产，有10万块3个月，这2个是大家最常 qualify 的2个 US time。那当然我们还有其他的。LPOA 我们也完全接受，没问题。如果客人没有办法待在美国接受保单，那就请一个法定代理人来帮他接收，这个也没问题。然后我们在 Foreign National 上面或外国人这上面呢，我们可以把单子做得很大的，我们外国人可以做到35个 million，3500万。OK， 所以请大家大单尽量的往我们这里送。好，我现在还有2件我觉得很重要的事情。第一个，绝对要 promote 一下我们的 annuity， 因为我们公司的年金不仅仅可以做一般的美国人，我们也可以做外国人。我们几乎是业界唯一的一间可以这么做的。OK， 所以记得，当你的外国客人Foreign Nationals 有这样的需求的时候，年金也可以考虑国家人寿。然后再来呢？我知道大家就急着拍照，没关系，这个 Simon 跟 Jenny 都有一份的，到时候都可以再发给大家。好，今天呢，我相信很多人都已经知道，我还有 Simon， 我们特别就是为了 East Ocean Design 设计了这个特别的一个旅游计划，它是一个奖励的旅游。那我们第一次在今年会邀请我们 East Ocean 就是 Top Producers 来我们的佛蒙特州的总部。OK， 很多人可能不知道 ，National Life 的总部在 Montpelier Vermont。OK， 在佛蒙特州 Vermont 的capital。那今年第一次的诚挚邀请大家，但是请大家一定要 qualify， 好不好？因为我们名额是有限制的。所以你看到这里，其实我们几个礼拜前就已经把这个发布出去了，对不对？我们还有一个 meeting， 就让你知道即刻开始，就已经开始了几个礼拜了，即刻开始一直到7月31号。OK， 所以我们还有大把的时间，只要你跟国家人寿做3万块的 target，OK， 然后我们有告诉你 annuity 怎么计算。总之，你就使劲的做3万块的话，那我们就会邀请你好好的host你来我们 国家人寿的总部在 Vermont， 然后日期呢你也先标记一下，在你的行事历上面是9月2号到9月4号 ，OK。因为我常在就是跟各位讲，我们公司真的有一个非常特别的文化，但是说实在，文化这件事情不是用说的，所以我希望大家能努力的 qualify， 然后亲眼的来我们公司的总部看看平常帮你 process business 的人，认识我们公司不同部门的人，这样子呢，你就可以切身的感受我们平常讲的文化是什么 ，OK。所以欢迎大家 again 尽量的做，尽量的 qualify 然后我很期待在9月的时候和大家在 Vermont 见面。好的，我想对很准时，OK。好，今天很开心看到大家，那我会一直在这边，请大家也多多来跟我发问 ，OK， 谢谢。
感谢我们的 Wendy 给我们做的这么详细的我们 National Life 独家拥有的这种生前福利的这种认证，哇，特别是用我们中文来解释，大家是不是特别有感受？最后还为我们的 East Ocean 带来了特别不一样的一种的，应该叫做成功旅游吧？大家是不是准备好了？3万点的这个Target Premium， 好像不是太难。那大家有什么感受？哇，已经有人 qualify 了，哪个 qualify 的举个手，我们一起来给他恭喜一下。哇，威利，恭喜威利已经 qualify 我们的9月份的这个 National Life 的总部的一个旅游那大家继续加油，好不好？好，谢谢我们的威利，再次感谢。Okay, let's start with our next speaker, Will from the Onion Life。那安联大家也是非常熟悉的它的这个Index Universal Life 也有很多的这种的fund，这个 performance 是特别棒的。OK，thank you。
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing today? All right. Well, I can't believe they found that picture of me with that big beard. I got to admit, I haven't updated my LinkedIn in a long time. Maybe I should, if that's my picture. But I'd like to thank you all for giving me time to speak with you today. My name is Will Geist. I'm a business development consultant at Allianz Life. And could anybody who's ever written a life insurance policy with Allianz raise your hand for me? All right. Now, could you raise your hand if you want to learn a little bit more about Allianz Life product and if you want to write a life policy with us? There we go. I love that. I love that. So, today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about our product, who it's good for, who you want to be targeting when you're doing it, and give you guys the key selling points when you're in front of the client to help explain how this product works and kind of what are the key advantages of it. So I want to start by really look at it from a broad perspective and talk to you guys about what is our life policy good for, who's it good for, and who should we be targeting. So with life insurance policies, I really like to think of there being a spectrum of products. And on one side of that spectrum, there's going to be products that are good for getting you the most death benefit that you can for the money that you want to put into the policy. And on the other side of that spectrum is going to be products that are really geared for maximum cash value accumulation and income potential later on in life. And that side of the spectrum is really where Allianz is going to be a fit. Transparently, if you're looking for what's going to be the life product that's going to get you the most death benefit for my money, that's really not where we build our product to be at all. But if you're looking... There we go. So if you're looking for the life product that will get you the most death benefit for your money, that's really not where we build our product to be competitive. But if you're looking for the product that will do the best job of giving your client cash value accumulation potential and being able to leverage that cash value later on in life for income, that's really where we are industry leaders. So who is this type of product going to be good for? What I consider to be an A client with Allianz Life is generally going to be about age 30 to age 55, along with their children. Generally going to be pretty high earning clients. Maybe they're already maxing out their qualified plans that they have available to them. But for those clients who are looking for a tax advantage to be able to grow their money over the long term, life insurance has a few key benefits that really give that the best opportunity to do so. So if you're looking at who's going to be the best client for this, generally about age 30 to age 55, high earning clients along with their kids. Our issue ages are 0 to 80, so if you do have clients outside of that, let's take a look at the individual situation to see if we can design something that makes sense. Because once somebody gets into retirement age, it's more a matter of, can we let this policy accumulate long enough before we're leveraging the cash value that we're building? So with that, let's talk a little bit more specifically about kind of the key features of our product. And there's going to be a word that I keep coming back to today, and that word is flexibility. And when I say flexibility, I mean flexibility in a couple of different ways. Flexibility in terms of the way that you can grow your money, and flexibility in terms of the way that you can access your money. Because I think when it comes to IUL in general, flexibility is a key selling feature, but with the Allianz product specifically, the flexibility that you have really kind of sets us apart from the competition. So with the Allianz Life Accumulator, which Allianz has one product that makes it very simple for you guys if you're wondering which is the right Allianz product to use. We have one product that we use, and that's the Life Accumulator. We do have the death benefit protection, we have the accumulation potential that's associated with it, and the flexible access that you have to your cash value. So let's talk first about flexibility that you have in terms of the way that you can grow your money. So one key advantage that Allianz has over all of our competitors in the industry is that we actually do all of our own hedging. In our home office in Minnesota, we actually do all of the hedging for Allianz's entire global entity. So that offers us a couple key advantages. Number one, we can be very dynamic in being able to create new ways for your clients to grow your money. So to talk briefly about the allocation options that you have, these are what we have for you. Our top two that you're going to see there are our Bloomberg US Dynamic Balance 3 Index and our PIMCO Tactical Balanced ER Index. These are going to be our two volatility controlled indexes. So they're going to balance between an equity component and either a cash component in the Bloomberg's case and a bond component in the PIMCO case, based on realized volatility. So when volatility is high, it's going to move more towards either the bond or the cash component. When volatility is low, it's going to move more towards the equity component. And those indexes are really designed sort of to smooth the ride out, to minimize the chance in any given year of getting a 0% return. We have our blended futures index, which is comprised of 60% equity, 40% bond. Our S&P 500 futures index, which is our lockable S&P 500 index. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means here in just a second. And we have our standard S&P 500 index. We also do have a fixed allocation option available to you. We have 3 different crediting methods, and the one that is going to be used most of the time is going to be our annual point-to-point method. That's going to be what all of our indexes use except for our S&P 500 index, but with the standard S&P 500 index, you also have a monthly sum option and a trigger option available to you. Monthly sum, we create 12 individual monthly segments. We add up what they do at the end of the year. That's what you're going to get. That's what I like to think of as our swing for the fences approach, in that you can get some of our very highest returns, but the odds that you get a 0 in any given year might be higher than an annual point-to-point. Our trigger option is a really cool option that we have available as well. We have a declared rate, which right now is 8.25, and if the S&P 500 is positive at all, even if it's up 0.1%, you're going to get that declared trigger rate. We also have 4 different bonus options available to you, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. The one that's listed as NA is our standard bonus option, which means no bonus, no fee. And that's going to offer highest peer caps and rates, and that's going to be the only one that are standard. Our standard S&P 500. We have next our classic bonus option, which is a 1% guaranteed bonus that has no fee with it. Our bonus option, which is a 15% multiplier bonus with no additional fee, and our select option, which is a 40% multiplier bonus with a 1% asset charge. All of those bonuses, as well as the fee for the select option, are all fully guaranteed for the life of the policy. So when I tell you what your bonus is going to be, that's what it's going to be. That's something that Allianz can never change on your client. So 5 different indexing options, along with a fixed option, 3 different crediting methods, and 4 different bonus options. You can split that up in whatever percentage that you'd like. You have full flexibility to allocate it however you'd like. and you can switch that on an annual basis. So put that together, it goes to show all the flexibility that you have in terms of the way that you can grow your money. Now, another component of that is our index lock capability that we have. And index lock is a really cool capability that Allianz and only Allianz has, and that's because we do all of our own hedging here. So how index lock works is that if I like the return that I have in the middle of my policy year, I can go into the Allianz website and I can lock that return in so that no matter what happens in the market for the rest of my policy year, my return is protected. So a couple different ways that you can do that. You can do that either through a manual lock, which is where I log into the Allianz website, I see the return that I have and I like it, I can click a big blue button and whatever it closes that business day at, that's what my return is going to be at the end of the year, regardless of what happens. I can also set an auto lock target. So to show you guys an example, let's say that I log in and I see my return is good, but maybe I think it could go higher. I have a lot of time left in my policy year. I could set a target where if my return surpasses that threshold at any point during the rest of my policy year, Allianz will lock it in automatically for you. You can also set an auto lock target on the downside to make sure that if the index starts going down, it can lock automatically if it surpasses that threshold as well. So I think that that's a very, very powerful tool, because how often are you, as agents, looking for a good reason to get in front of your client in the middle of the policy year with good news? I think that's a really good opportunity to get referral business as well, because if you can go to a client and say, I was able to lock in return for you of 12% or whatever it might be that year, who else do you know that this might be a good fit for? So between all the different indexing options that we have available to you, all the different crediting methods that we have, the different bonus options that we have, along with the index lock capability, which when you log onto the Allianz website and you go into lock it, this is how you complete it. You can either do a manual lock to complete it that day, or set an upper and or lower target. And as long as the policy has not been locked yet, you can always go in and adjust what those targets are. You can also go into the Allianz Life website and view an index lock report, so it will show you every single policy that you have, what their return is currently at, so that you can see what good index lock opportunities you have available to you. Allianz will also send out I think it's every 2 weeks, we send out an email showing you, telling you what good opportunities you have for index lock as well. So it's not something that you have to worry about going in and checking all the time. Allianz will let you know if you do have a good opportunity for index lock. So putting all that together really goes to show you the flexibility that you have in terms of the way that you can grow your money. And I think flexibility is really a key selling point when it comes to IUL in general, and especially with the Allianz Life policy. So I talked to you guys first about flexibility in terms of the way that you can grow your money, but now I want to talk about the other side of that coin, which is flexibility in terms of the way that you can access that cash value. Because typically when somebody's buying one of these accumulation life insurance policies, there's generally two phases to the policy. First is the accumulation phase, and second is the distribution phase. So a big reason that people buy IUL in general is because of the tax advantages that it gives you. And one of those tax advantages is the opportunity to get tax-free income later on in life, especially in retirement. But you can use those distributions for whatever it is you might want. Maybe it's college funding. Maybe it's you want to buy a car and pay yourself back instead of a bank. But most often, we're going to see that for retirement planning, taking retirement income. So I want to talk to you about the options that you have for accessing the cash value that you have. And I'm going to talk about it from what I consider the least common to the most popular way of accessing your cash value. So the least popular way that I see people use to access their cash value is through withdrawals, or partial surrenders, we also call them. So how that works is that I'm withdrawing a portion of my cash value. It's going to reduce my death benefit, it's going to reduce my cash value, and it's going to reduce my accumulation value. And the reason that it's the least popular way to do it is because once I surpass my basis of premium that I paid into the policy, I'm going to be taxed on the gains if I take a pure withdrawal. So by far the more popular way to do that is through loans against the death benefit. Death benefit of a life insurance policy is income tax free. So when I take a loan against the death benefit of the policy, that's going to be income tax free as well, regardless of whether I've taken over my basis premium that I paid into the policy. So again, going from least common to most common, the less common way of taking loans against the death benefit are going to be through what are called fixed loans. And we actually have two types of fixed loans depending on when you take it. So in the first 10 years, if I take a fixed loan, that's what we call a standard loan. And that's going to be a 2.91% charge and a 2% credit. So it's a net 1% cost if I take a fixed loan in the first 10 years. We don't often see people take loans in the first 10 years, but you do see it happen. So it's a net 1% cost if I take one of those loans in the first 10 years. And keep in mind when I'm talking about what these charges are and what these credits are, these are also fully guaranteed for the life of the policy. So when I tell you what the charge is going to be, that's guaranteed. That will never change in your plan. So in the first 10 years, it's a net 1% charge. After policy year 10, it's a 1.96% charge and a 2% credit. So it's a net 0% cost loan after year 10. First 10 years, net. After year 10, net 0% cost loan. And the more popular way of taking loans later on in life are going to be through index loans. So I want to talk briefly about the difference between the two and how they actually function. So kind of like a withdrawal, when I take a fixed loan, it's going to reduce my death benefit, it's going to reduce my cash value, and it's also going to reduce my accumulation value. When I take an index loan, that's going to reduce my death benefit, it's going to reduce my cash value, but it is not going to reduce my accumulation value. So what does that mean? When, let's say that we reach the end of my policy year and I get a 10% return that year. It's 10% of what? It's going to be 10% of your accumulation value is what's credited. So what that means is that when I take an index loan, even though that money is loaned out, it's still going to receive an interest credit at the end of the year. So for an index loan, it's a guaranteed 5% cost for it. And worst case scenario is that I get a 0% return that year, my net cost for that loan is going to be 5%. If I get a 5% return based on my indexing that year, it's going to be a net 0% cost loan. If I get a 10% return that year, not only am I going to make back that 5% for the loan charge, but I'm actually going to net an additional 5% on top of that. So you have might need a better, I don't know. But I have the opportunity to make money on the money that's loaned out. And that opportunity for positive arbitrage on my loan value is going to be the reason that the index loans are by far the most popular option that we see. And that opportunity for positive arbitrage is what theoretically allows the most amount of income to come out over the course of the life of the policy. So the word that I told you guys that I keep coming back to today is flexibility. So with these options that you see, I can take any percentage that I'd like of either type of loan in any given year, and I have the opportunity to rebalance that on an annual basis. So if I think that this next year the market's going to do well, we have the opportunity for a really good return. In that situation, I probably want to be all or at least heavily balanced in the index loan portion of this equation. Because I have that opportunity for getting return above 5%. I can get a return above that and make money on my loan value. Let's say that happens, I get a good return that year, but we got dark stormy clouds on the horizon. I think the next year there's a high probability that we're going to have a low return, if not a 0% return. In that case, maybe I want to rebalance it and be a lot more heavily balanced on the fixed loan side of the equation, because after year 10, it's a net 0% cost for the loan that year. So if that were to happen, if I got a 0% return, I'd probably want to be in the fixed loan option that year, where it's a 0% cost as opposed to the index loan option, where it's a 5% cost. Again, guaranteed cost on those loans. So you have the opportunity to take any percentage that you'd like of either type of loan and rebalance that distribution on an annual basis. We also do have We also do have, this is basically going over what I just talked about, the flexibility that you have, the ability to blend loan types. But you also do have the option for withdrawals, or you can also always fully surrender your policy where we'll pay out whatever that cash value is at that time. But when you do that, you're going to be looking at getting taxed on the gains. So putting all that together, I really think goes to show you all the flexibilities you have, both in terms of the way that you can access, the way that you can grow your money, as well as the way that you can access the cash value of your policy. So with that, we also do have a number of riders available with our policy. So I'm going to touch briefly on these, but if you want more detail about it, I would encourage you guys take a look at our Financial Professionals Guide. It does, I think, the best job of going A to Z over our product features, showing how they work. What I'm really doing right now is kind of giving you guys a 30,000-foot overview, but if you want the individual details, I would encourage you guys to take a look at our Financial Professionals Guide. It's my #1 favorite resource on our policy. So to talk briefly about a couple of the riders that we have available to you, we do have a loan protection rider built into the policy. I like to think of this as our break glass in case of emergency protection. Because if you have somebody that's taking out way too much money in loans over the life of their policy, and you're looking at a situation in which that policy might lapse, our loan protection rider will prevent the policy from lapsing, because if the policy lapses, your client could be looking at a big tax liability on all the gains that they've received over the years of their policy. So as long as your client is 75 or over and the policy's been in force for 15 years, if the client takes out too much in loans, we'll prevent the policy from lapsing. It will become a reduced, paid-up policy that they lose control over, but they will not be hit over the head by the IRS with a big tax liability. Again, I do like to think of that as a break glass in case of emergency protection. You don't want to use it, but it's there for you if you need it. We do have the waiver of due charges benefit. Our 2 living benefits that we have with this policy are a terminal illness rider and a chronic illness rider. So terminal illness rider, if you're diagnosed with 12 months or less to live, we will allow you to accelerate up to the full death benefit of your policy, up to $1 million. With our chronic illness rider, it's 2 out of 6 ADLs for 90 continuous days, or cognitively impaired for 90 continuous days. We'll allow you to accelerate up to 25% of your death benefit at the time of the first acceleration, up to $250,000. You can accelerate. There we go. You can accelerate more than once if the client is still chronically ill or they receive a new chronic illness. It just has to be. There we go. That one was working. All right. So as long as it's 12 months in between accelerations, you can always accelerate again, and that's up to $250,000 per acceleration. We also do have an enhanced liquidity rider, which will allow you to eliminate either 50% or 100% of your surrender charges. We see this used most often in our premium finance cases, but we do see it used in our regular non-premium finance cases as well for the clients who early year cash value is important. Our premium deposit fund rider allows the client to pay a lump sum to Allianz one time instead of having to pay annual or monthly premiums. So if you do have a client who it's important to just pay a premium one time and be done with it, we do have a premium deposit fund rider available to them. We create a separate account at Allianz, and we pay that money into the policy over a set number of years between 3 and 10. We do have a 6% interest credit right now on our premium deposit fund rider, which is the top interest credit on that in the industry. We also do have a supplemental term rider. So that could be a really good tool for people who maybe they need extra death benefit for a certain amount of time. So in a situation like mine, I have a young kid. I want to make sure that I have extra death benefit until maybe they're out of college, and then I can get rid of that and maximize the accumulation potential. You can use it for that reason, where we need extra death benefit for a certain amount of time and we get rid of it. Otherwise, you can use it as a way to maximize the amount of money that you can get into a life insurance policy. Or if you need to drive the minimum premium down, you can do that by doing a supplemental term blend. The one thing with that is I'd say be careful when you're using a supplemental term rider for that reason. is because we never want to put a client in a situation where there's a high likelihood that their policy might lapse. And if you use it to drive the minimum premium down and you're only paying minimum premium to a policy, you just want to make sure you're not putting the client in a bad position. So if you guys do want more details about those riders that we have available to you, I would encourage you guys again to take a look at our financial professionals guide. And with that, I know I just threw a lot at you guys in a very short amount of time. So I'd encourage you guys also to go onto the Allianz Life website. We have a lot of marketing material available to you guys. Again, my favorite is the financial professionals guide if you guys are looking for where do I start. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I do have to show you guys just a couple pages of disclosures. But one thing to note is that the only state that we do not sell policies in is New York. So I would only consider looking at Allianz if you are dealing with a client outside of New York, because unfortunately at this time, if it is a New York client, we can't take the business. So thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you guys today.
So thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. And just going back really quickly here. Okay. So what we like to try and talk about a little bit with Symmetric is we like to talk about our guiding principles, because we've worked on this concept of what we call VTS, which is value, transparency, and sustainability. Better? Sorry. We like to work on these concepts here that are our guiding principles that talk about value, transparency, and sustainability. And the idea there being is that we want you to be able to see those concepts come through in the products that we design. We want them to be easily understood and simple, because some of the products that we as an industry have a tendency to get a little bit complicated. So we try to make them as simple as possible in a somewhat complicated world. So I'm going to go through a couple of different topics, and obviously if anybody has questions, we have a table here, so please feel free to stop by. So first and foremost is our Swift Turn platform. So Swift Turn is an instant issue turn product. And the best way I can say it is, it's going to sound silly, but it's true. You can get coverage in as quickly as 20 minutes. So the way this works is, you as an agent, you'll go in and you'll just drop a ticket, right? Which just means putting in some basic information on the client's behalf, their name, their phone number, their email address. And then you'll click enter, and you're done. An email goes to the client. Client takes about 20 minutes to complete their part of the information. And then they hit enter. When they hit enter, they get one of three messages. They're either going to get, congratulations, you're approved, click here to buy your policy, and have it put in force. The actual record we have from when a client has opened the policy, or the email, to when they've had a policy delivered to their inbox, is 18 minutes and 58 seconds. So it's very quick. But what we also know is that not everybody goes through that process quickly. And so what we don't want is what we call pass-fail. So we don't want you as an agent and the client to say, okay, sorry, you didn't get approved immediately. You've got to go back out and start again. So what we do is, what we'll notice here on this is that you're going to get one of three answers. When the client finishes their piece, they'll either get, congratulations, you're approved, or you'll get a second answer, which is, sorry, we just need some more information, and underwriter will email you a question. That happens, and that takes about 1 to 3 days. And then ultimately, if you've got something more serious like diabetes, then you'll be requested to order a medical exam. And the client will do that online. Now what's important is, since we've introduced Swift Turn, we've got over 80,000 policies that have gone through this process. To me, the most important stat is, of those first two paths that we talk about, either instant or what we call light touch, that's completely fluidless, no telephone interviews, and that's happening 81% of the time. So of those 80,000 policies, just over 64,000 have gone through in either 20 minutes or 3 days. We can go up to $5 million on term insurance there, and we even have a permanent option where you can go up to $3 million. All right? And just if you're really interested in some of the other breakdown statistics, that first path, the immediate path, is happening just around 27 to 28% of the time. Then the next 52% is happening on light touch. but that's where you've got that. So you've got an opportunity to get people through very quickly. Now, what's most important to me, having sat at a table, having written policy, just like you guys have, what we call business hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Over 70% of those policies that have gone through in Swift Term have happened outside of those normal business hours, right? So think of that. 70% of those 80,000 policies, so over 56,000, have gone through at what we would normally do when we all started the business, we call the kitchen table sale, right? The sale that you're doing at night with the clients and things of that nature. So the idea of being able to get all of these term policies through quickly and efficiently, but not have to lose those products is very important. You'll just see here simply those 3 concentric circles are the 3 different paths that it would take for a client to go through. What I also want to add is that we're back, is that we have it well priced. And we do that on purpose because some people would say to me, well, it's really fast, so is it well priced? It's very well priced. The real goal here is, as you'll notice, it's really 20 to 60, but we really dial it in from 25 to 55. And I wanted to make sure we add this. So since a lot of you, I'm sure, use a lot of the other inexpensive term products, what we've done, we've created a rider that allows you to get a better conversion, right? So the idea is that on the initial conversion product, or the initial product, ultimately the client has the opportunity to get 10 years up to age 70 for conversion. But a lot of people obviously want more opportunity for conversion, better products and things of that nature. So what we've added is this conversion enhancement rider. So what a client can do is they can extend it to any product available for sale, any product available for sale, as well as extend the term that they can convert. So initially it's 10 years, but with this particular rider, you can go up to 20 years of conversion, and you can go up to any product available for sale. All right? So in terms of trying to do policies swiftly, the Swift Term and Swift Perm opportunities create an opportunity for you to just, again, sales that you want to make, but you don't want to necessarily let them go. You want to make them, but you don't want to invest a lot of time in a policy that's doing this. The average premium, just to give you one last statistic on Swift Term, is about $1,100. So this is not a number that we want to dismiss. But again, how much time do we want to spend on that? You know, there are a lot of those that are $300 or $400 or $500. Do we want to spend a lot of time, multiple meetings to do those sales? In this process, you don't need to. I want to spend a little bit of time on our foreign national program. So we have gotten into the foreign national program over the last 4 years in a very big way. Ultimately, what we've tried to do is we try to make it a simple program. Again, as we mentioned earlier about transparency, we want to make it simple for your client. So ultimately, the best way to make that simple is to make it easy for them to be able to apply and get coverage in the United States. So what we require for a client to be approved in the U.S. for a policy is simply a nexus, which we'll discuss a little bit, some connection, as you know, to the U.S., and a $1 million global net worth. So we don't require any money in the U.S. They can have a $1 million global net worth, and all their money is in whatever country they're from. Now, what is a nexus, or what is a nexus, or what do we allow to serve as a nexus? Everybody has the standard ones, which is a home in the U.S., a child in the U.S., or a family member in the U.S., has a U.S. tax liability, works for a U.S. domiciled company. Those are pretty standard throughout the industry. What we've done is we've tried to add some other ways to make it a little bit more simple. So, if your client has not been to the U.S. before, we will allow a bank or brokerage account with $10,000 that's 30 days old to qualify as a nexus. So that means they could, January 1st open a bank account or a brokerage account with $10,000, wait 30 days, February 1st take the application. So we allow that to be a nexus if they've got no other qualifying nexus. You only need one, right? A lot of people will say we need more than these, or is it this and this? No, it's either or. So if you have no other connection, the bank or brokerage account will suffice. If the client doesn't even have that, what we'll allow is we allow regular travel to the US, but I need to define that for you. So if the client has been to the US once in the last 5 years and is coming back a second time, even if it's to do their life insurance application, those 2 times in 5 years will qualify as consistent travel, regular travel to the US. All right? So the idea there is that we try to make the benchmark or the hurdle very low to make it simple for your clients to be able to get approved for being able to qualify to get life insurance in the United States. What we've also done is we've also made it simple in terms of product choice. So very simply, any product available for sale is available for foreign nationals. So if your client wants to buy term insurance, they can buy term insurance. They don't have to have some qualifying issue like they work for a company. If they want to buy term, they can buy term. If they want to buy permanent, they can buy permanent. If they want to finance the business, we allow them to finance the business. So we really have very few restrictions on our foreign national program. You know, the only real restrictions we have are the country issues that we currently have. Right up until October 7th, a few years ago, you know, Israel was an A country and we could write super preferred up to, you know, 20 million. Up until a month ago, you know, we were writing UAE pretty regularly, but ultimately that's a little bit hands-off at the moment. So luckily, I think for most of the folks in this room, we'll be dealing obviously with obviously China and obviously, you know, other countries in Asia. So the reality is none of those have any kind of issue now. So we made it very simple to try and become or try to be able to buy life insurance in the U.S. What we just recently rolled out as of 2 weeks ago, so this is a perfect time for meeting, is that we also allow, since you need to have a U.S. address, that we can't send billing internationally, what we also allow is we now allow the U.S. address to be a P.O. box. So you don't need to have a U.S. address of a human being. Sometimes, you know, people will allow the limited power of attorney to be the address, but we allow you to use a P.O. box now as your U.S. address. We also have a pathway to delivery of the policy in their home country. So the reality is that prior to about a month ago when we rolled that out, we also had the opportunity to do a limited power of attorney. So if your client could go back home, and then we have a limited power of attorney to take delivery, and ultimately they're all set to go. Now we'll even allow them to do a delivery of the policy in home country. So now they can do U.S. ownership, they can do limited power of attorney, they can take delivery of the contract themselves. All right? I wanted to add this because I find this to be a really unique thing that we have. And I think maybe a few other carriers do too, and obviously you'll know better than I because you know more carriers than I do. But the chronic illness product, the standalone, what we call the chronic care advantage on your right, my left, that's a standard one. You know, 2%, 4% of the death benefit on a monthly basis up to the IRS per diem. You pay for it and it's underwritten. Pretty standard, you're all very familiar with that. The one on your left, my right, the chronic illness, the chronic illness rider, that's what I want to spend just a moment on. So this is important. If you've got clients that have tried to get some kind of long-term care or chronic illness rider, and they were approved for the life insurance, but were declined for the rider, or declined for long-term care, we have another opportunity. So if a client is able to get a medical standard, just a medical standard, no morbidity underwriting, you can get this chronic illness rider, which gives you access up to 50% of your policy, up to $500,000 for long-term care or chronic illness. And so let me kind of give you a few people or a few types of issues that we've had come up with that. I've had clients with rheumatoid arthritis that are on injections. I've had people with Parkinson's. I've had people with asymptomatic MS. I've had people missing limbs. All get approved either medically standard or better, but they would all have been declined for chronic illness or long-term care. So there's an opportunity here that if you have a client that has some level or some concern about their issue of chronic illness or long-term care, but they've been declined for other reasons, this is a way to go back to them and say, look, we've got maybe another potential opportunity where we can get you some level of coverage. And anyone who's in the room who's been through a long-term care with a loved one or a long-term care claim with a loved one, at that moment, you're just looking for money. right? It's very expensive. We live probably, I would think, guys, we live in the most expensive place in the country, it seems like, for everything else. I'm sure it's for long-term care as well. And the reality is that, you know, you're kind of searching for money. So in this instance, if you have the ability to get a standard, medical standard, we can get you this coverage. In addition, we have a shaving program called Good Life Rewards. So let's assume your client has diabetes. So they would normally be around a table 2. But if they've got things that we qualify for Good Life Rewards, like their BMI is good, they go for regular testing, or they exercise regularly, we can use credits to get them and shave them from a table 3 to a standard. As long as we get them to a medical standard, they get the chronic illness rider. So that's available on any of our permanent products, IUL, VUL, current assumption. So all of those products have that rider available to them. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to go back to maybe some of those clients that you were trying to get long-term care or chronic illness for, because you couldn't. This goes directly to our idea of transparency. So I want to just spend a quick moment on this. What we've done with our IUL product is, again, to try and make it simple for clients. We try to do things that are easily understandable. You know, all of us are, to some degree, insurance professionals, some of you may be investment professionals, but the products can get a little bit involved. So what we did here was, we went with when we do our IUL index, we actually chose a bonus structure, simply because multipliers, they sound great, right? You may have 130% multiplier on a product, but ultimately when you have 130% of 0, if you get a 0 that year, it's still 0. So we went with a bonus structure because ultimately when you get the bonus, even if you get a 0 on the index return, you still get your bonus. So we added that. The other thing that we do from a transparency standpoint is when your client starts an index segment, that value, whatever that value is at that moment when you started, that's the number we use to calculate your investment return at the end of that segment. So just to give you a quick idea, let's assume that index segment had $1,000 and your return that year was 10%. Well, we're going to give you $100, 10 times 1,000, which is easy math and easy for your clients to do. Most companies will do it midpoint. So they'll take 6 months of charges out, that's the number they use, and then they multiply it at the end. Again, that's traditional of insurance companies, right? It's a little bit more involved, a little not as easy to understand. We want it to be transparent. Index universal life can be difficult sometimes. We want to try to make it as simple as humanly possible for the client to understand. In our accumulation IUL, we recently added the NASDAQ index. So what we wanted there was we wanted another name brand index. Some of the proprietary indexes haven't done really well. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to add another name brand index other than just S&P. So we have the S&P, that's in there, 1 year point to point. And I apologize, I know you're not supposed to look back at your presentation when you present, but if I walk over there, we're getting static. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to just turn around for a moment. What you'll see here, what I like about the NASDAQ is that 2 things. One is you have a real return history. It's not a look back that you just choose to make when you're setting up a proprietary index. So you've got an actual history you can review. You'll also be able to review that it has outpaced over the last 25 years the S&P. So ultimately you've got another index that you can choose for your clients in the accumulation process. You could go all S&P, all NASDAQ, 50-50, but it just gives you some more exposure to a larger grouping of assets and asset classes so that you can somewhat diversify your client if they so choose. And just from a pricing standpoint, this is just our protection IUL. And again, you can do this on the protection IUL on whether it's a swift process or normally written. It just shows our pricing. Most companies are going to show, obviously, where they're good in the sell, so that's fine. What I really want to focus on is one thing, and again, it goes to the transparency issue we talk about. It's going to be the 20-year cumulative charges. If you don't mind looking at that. Our focus is, the market's been doing very well, and that's great, right? We all want to cap our returns on IULs every single year if we can, and God willing, we can every single year. It's unlikely that's going to happen. And so the idea is when a product has a bad year, right, the charges are still going to come out. I like to kid that every life insurance contract is guaranteed, Because I guarantee you those charges are going to come, right? Insurance company is going to get their piece. So ultimately what we try to do for you and for your clients is make sure that the product is low cost, so that when you do have a bad year, ultimately the contract will suffer less. This is the accumulation product, and you'll notice same concept if you look at that the cumulative charges. Again, yes, we look very good. We show a great income, so obviously that'll stand up to scrutiny when you illustrate us. But I really want you to focus on the cumulative charges because ultimately, again, in the accumulation world, that's going to matter. So I'm going to jump to this next slide because it's very important. And again, from the standpoint of transparency, we strongly recommend you stress test the contract. And you'll see here, everybody, what we do is there's an article came out a few years ago called the 70% window. And what it basically says is that 7 out of 10 years are positive, so we suggest you do 70% of the max illustrated value, because different companies have different caps, right? And so there's difference in sequencing of returns. So if you set everybody at 6% or set everybody at 5%, the companies that have lower caps do better, and the companies that have higher caps get penalized. So what we suggest is just do 70% of their max illustrated rate. So what we show here is 70% of everybody's max illustrated rate, and you'll see simply that the income goes down for everybody. The key is that it goes down less for us. And that's directly related to having a low charge product. Again, as the market's doing well, nobody really cares. But it really comes back to haunt us when ultimately the market goes down and you have a bad year and you've got to defend those returns to your clients. And that is everything that I have. So a little bit quicker. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to stop by and I'll happily go over anything with you. Thanks.
Thank you for Stephen for outside special features of the signatures. 每一家公司都有他们独特的这些优势，所以说我们作为一个 East Ocean 的这些 producer， 我们有更多的这种的资源，然后可以写更多的不同的产品，好不好 ？Okay, now let's move to the other two distinguished speaker from the nationwide. Now Jessica and Steve. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Guys, thank you. It's so good to be here again. Appreciate the invitation back. Good to see everybody. We've been spending a lot of time talking about life insurance so far, so I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about long-term care. So, could I take a little bit of a poll in the room first? How many folks here have had an experience with long-term care, either with your family, a loved one, or friends? You can raise your hand. All right, so there's a lot of hands here. For those of you who have had some experience, ballpark figure, how much does it cost? Is it cheap? No, it's expensive. And I think a lot of our clients, unfortunately, don't have an idea of how expensive long-term care can be and the impact it can have on their financial future, their emotional, their mental health, and their family's future as well. So we at Nationwide have a really great tool that you can use to help put some numbers around the cost of long-term care. You know, we do a great job as folks planning for retirement. We do a great job saving for college for our kids. We do a great job saving for weddings for our kids. And then for some reason, we get into retirement and we kind of stop planning. And sometimes we don't plan for long-term care. And that could be a huge, huge mistake for some of our clients. So what we've done at Nationwide is we have this really fantastic tool. Everyone here has access to it. If you stop by the table, I can give you the web address for it, or you can simply Google Nationwide Long-Term Care Cost Calculator. And what you'll see is this map here of the United States. So I'll zoom in here, we'll pick New York. And what you'll see is it gives you the state average for the cost of care. You've got a couple of options here. So this is going to give you the entire state of New York. You can pick any state that your client is in. So if they're in California, you can drill down on California. If they're in Pennsylvania, you can do the same there. You can actually say, okay, we're in New York. I actually want to add a specific area in New York. So we'll say we want to go more to New York Metro, we'll say. And we want to filter out what is the cost of care in the future? So when my client is most likely to have a long-term care experience, what is the cost of care at that time? So you'll see here, you've got an estimated cost of care, but then you've got a breakdown. So your client might say, you know what, I don't want to go into a nursing home, which is what a lot of our clients say. They want to stay at home for as long as possible, or they want to stay with family. Fantastic. You've got the options here for informal care, for care at home. For a lot of our clients, that's what they want. They want to stay at home as long as possible. Assisted living, and then nursing home, which is that 24/7 care that they may end up needing at the end of their life. Most of our clients do not start in the nursing home. They start with care at home. This quantifies the risk that your client has, and these are annual numbers. The average claim is approximately 4 years. It's longer if you've got something like dementia or Alzheimer's. So you can actually quantify this to say to your client, here's the risk that's looming out there, and we need to plan for that. And how can you plan for that? Well, Nationwide has a whole suite of products that can help you. We've got everything from life insurance products with the long-term care rider to our Care Matters suite of products. And now, just this week, we have launched Care Matters 2 in the state of New York. So we don't often have products that are coming to New York, so I'm proud to say that we are actually filing one product in New York. So Care Matters 2 in New York is now available to you. That has inflation that starts on day 1. You've got additional payment options. You can do 1035s into this product. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to help your clients plan for the potential long-term care needs that are out there. Some other exciting news that we have from New York is that our Heritage Single Premium Instant Issue Whole Life product is now available in the state of New York as well. So you can reach out to Simon and Vincent and the team at East Ocean. They can help you with both of those products. In addition to that, we've launched our new IUL Accumulator 3 that is outside of New York, but use our non-resident sales form. There's 6 criteria where you can sell outside of the client's resident state. You guys can utilize that for any of those options that meet those 6 criteria. So overall, we've got a lot of fantastic opportunities for you guys, some really strong products that I would love for you to take a look at. Again, reach out to Simon and Vincent and the team at East Ocean. They can help you with anything that you might need. So I want to stop taking up the time here. You're really here to hear Steve Forrester from our advanced consulting team speak to you today. Steve is an amazing resource. He's part of our advanced consulting team. He's one of our attorneys. He's also a CFP that we have on staff here. He's going to talk to you about trusts and some of the unique opportunities that present themselves when it comes to wealth transfer planning and legacy planning that can be used with our trust structure. So Steve, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you all for having me. It's good to be here. Thank you all for having me. Just as many of you guys know, I represent Nationwide here in the Northeast. It's good to be here. So you've heard a lot about life insurance. And what I want to talk about today is how to own life insurance. I think inflexibly, you generally just buy a life insurance policy, your client owns the policy, and they're happy. And oftentimes, that may very well be okay. But when we're talking about the high net worth space, these are individuals with, 10 or more $1 million in net worth, owning a life insurance policy individually becomes problematic. Many of you are aware that the estate exemption right now is $15 million. It's a high threshold. So imagine an individual with a $10 million net worth, and this person now buys a life insurance policy with a $7-8 million death benefit, owns it individually. What is the end result? At death, that individual's net worth is now $18 million, $3 million above the $15 million exemption amount. You've now created an estate tax issue for that client. One that could have been easily avoided by structuring the ownership of the policy just a little bit different. So that is what I want you all to have in your minds as we go through today's conversation. I will also add the following. As much as the conversation may be focused on the high net worth space, what I'm going to talk about today, the trust structure, is also very applicable to the lower threshold case for various reasons, asset protection and so forth. Right? Let's dig right into it. All right, first, I'll give you a moment to just read this disclosure. We do not provide tax or legal advice, so when you guys call the Nationwide ACG group, understand that we're simply here to provide with educational resources. So we do not give tax or legal advice. So why use an irrevocable life insurance trust, an ILIT? We use an ILIT for many reasons. 4 of them are listed here on the screen. One of the first things that an ILIT does is it creates estate tax-free liquidity. Yes, life insurance death benefit is tax-free, and it's going to be tax-free whether it's owned inside of a trust or owned individually. There are some exceptions to that we're not going to go into. But one of the things it does is it creates that liquidity outside of the estate, right? You own a life insurance policy, it's owned inside of a trust. At passing, the death benefit goes into the trust. It's outside the estate. So it creates that estate tax-free liquidity that's now a bucket that the trustee can use to satisfy the obligations of the estate. It protects the policy death benefit from estate inclusion. I started by giving you a straightforward hypothetical. An estate valued at $10 million, an $8 million policy. Upon death, if you own it individually, your estate is now $18 million, right? Utilizing the ILIT structure, that $8 million of death benefit is outside of the estate, so we don't have that estate inclusion issue. It enables multi-generational wealth governance. What do I mean by that? Again, consider a situation where you own the policy individually. Once you pass away, that benefit is simply paid to the beneficiaries. There is no planning. There is no thought. You do not control what happens afterwards. The beneficiary, they receive the proceeds, they do with it as they choose. Imagine a structure, a trust, that is designed to last multiple generations. The beneficiaries do not control the manner in which or the timing of those distributions. You, the grantor, the person that created the trust, dictate how funds are distributed from that asset later, from the trust later on. Stabilizes family transition and equalize inheritances. One of the issues that generally happens, particularly with small businesses, is when the senior generation passes away, you may have kids that are not part of the business, right? And they want their piece of the pie, right? They want their inheritance now. And so having this bucket, if you will, this trust, allows you to equalize and satisfy those beneficiaries' requests without having to involve business assets. Okay, so as you all know, estate taxes are generally due 9 months after the death of the decedent. Right? That is not something you can negotiate, it's simply due at that time. When we talk about high net worth clients, typically those clients will have business interests. Many of you have clients that are very wealthy, but their wealth is tied up in real estate. What happens at death if there's an estate tax obligation? If the majority of the asset is real estate, then there is no choice but to liquidate. I shouldn't say there is no choice. I mean, obviously you can always try to get a loan and so forth, but short of that, you may need to liquidate real estate at a time that is not particularly suitable. Okay. So that liquidity gap, the need for cash at an inconvenient time, leads to potentially distressed sales, leads to family conflict, whereas having that islet in place provides that immediate liquidity and it's estate tax free. So, why policy ownership must be in an islet? Again, the example I gave at the very beginning illustrates this point. It removes the death benefit from the taxable estate. It makes no sense that you would increase your client's estate tax base when there is an alternative to not doing so. It protects the policy from creditors. Understand what's happening when the policy is owned by a trust. That beneficiary never gets their hands on the proceeds. The proceeds are inside of a trust. So if that beneficiary is a spendthrift, or if that beneficiary is being sued, his creditors, there's no connection to the assets that are inside the trust. It's not the beneficiary's asset until the trustee makes a distribution to the beneficiary. So, the structure of an islet. The grantor is the person that makes the trust. The individual that is designing what the provisions of the trust are, who the beneficiaries are, and the conditions under which those beneficiaries would be entitled to distribution from the trust. The trustee is that individual that is in control. Okay. Oftentimes, the biggest hurdle that you'll come across when you talk to a client about utilizing the trust, they will say, I want the control. I want to be able to utilize the trust, utilize the policy values today. Unfortunately, you can't. You can't have it both ways. If we're going to utilize the ILET as a planning tool, generally speaking, the grantor, the person transferring the assets into the trust, does lose control of the policy. They cannot simply choose to access the cash value at a later date. It's a complete gift. It's a gift to the beneficiaries of that trust. Okay. Crummy notices. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but it's a term that you probably have heard if you've done any sort of trust planning. And that simply means that when an individual makes a transfer to a trust, we would prefer that each year that annual gift qualifies for the gift tax annual exclusion amount, which is $19,000. So as you know, if you have multiple trust beneficiaries, let's make the math easy. 2 trust beneficiaries, you could transfer 2 times 19, $38,000 annually into that trust. And that $38,000 would qualify for the gift tax annual exclusion amount, which means that it does not reduce the $15 million exemption amount that you have. Crummy notices are one of the mechanisms that we utilize in order for the transfer to the trust to meet the requirement for that $19,000 amount. Okay, so the ILET funding options. How do we fund a trust? I mentioned before that you have an exemption amount of $15 million. If the client has the ability to write a check for $15 million, they can gift $15 million to a trust. They could, and it wouldn't cost them any gift tax amount. It would be unusual to do that, but they could. Generally, we try to fund trust with annual exclusion given, what I just mentioned, that annual $19,000 amount. And we try to multiply that by as many beneficiaries as we can. So if there are 3 kids, husband and wife, they can give to the trust 3 times 19 times 2, and it would not affect their $15 million exemption amount. It's your annual exclusion amount. We spoke about the lifetime exemption amount. There are other ways in which you could fund the ILET. We won't get into private loan arrangements, but premium financing, split dollar, as well as sale of assets to an ILET. Many of you that work a lot with real estate clients, what I've done in the past when I practice, and clients do not have a lot of cash flow outside of their real estate activity, is to perhaps gift an income producing piece of real estate into the ILET. And that annual income from that rental property is then used to sustain the life insurance premium on an ongoing basis. So, what is the impact on estate planning? And we've touched on this already. The first thing it does is it removes it from the estate. And I keep hammering that point home over and over and over again. Firstly, the assets are outside of the grantor's estate. Future appreciation, if we're just talking about life insurance, this would be the death benefit. That obviously is removed from the estate. It provides liquidity at death. That liquidity can then be used to pay estate tax. I'll just make one technical point here. Technically speaking, the islet is not used to pay estate tax. It is a source. And generally speaking, what happens is that the trustee will either lend to the executor the estate amount, the estate tax that's due, or the trustee may buy assets from the estate. And so the trustee will then take back the assets from the estate and transfer over cash to the executor so that the executor can pay the estate tax. Okay. All right, so let's compare the differences between owning the policy personally versus owning the policy in an islet. What the features are for owning the policies personally is that you have estate inclusion. Secondly, the creditor protection that you have for owning the policy individually is minimal. There is some protection, but not great. Generation skip and transfer tax planning, GST planning, it's a horrendous tax if you're unaware. In addition to gift tax, if you are making a gift or a transfer to grandkids, what we call skip generation, there is an additional tax called the generation skip and transfer tax. Okay? If you own the policy personally and you make a transfer to a grandchild, you have not just the estate tax to worry about, but also the GST tax. You have the ability, a little bit of ability to equalize the estate if it's owned personally, and obviously you will have pretty much no control after death if the policy is owned individually. Death benefit would simply go to the beneficiary and they do with it as they choose. Contrast that to when an islet is owned a policy. When an islet owns a policy, it's outside of the estate. Right? Creditor protection is strong. You no longer own the policy. The policy is owned by this entity that you do not control. GST planning, you're able to plan for the generation skip and transfer tax if it's owned by an islet. You, of course, have a better ability to equalize the estate. And you have the ultimate control after death. We generally will say that the grantor is able to rule from the grave. When you go to the trust document, who created the provisions in that document? It's the grantor. He dictated who, when, and the circumstances under which distributions will be made to the beneficiary. So, a lot of control, even after death. So, oftentimes, it's a discussion between the advisor and the client. An advisor will recommend an islet, and the client will be somewhat resistant. It's a new concept. They'd rather have control. And it's really your job to really switch the script around, if you will. These are just some questions that we came up with, questions that you might have with your client. First is, how will the estate generate the cash to pay the tax bill within 9 months? Again, consider that situation where the client is very wealthy, but all their assets are tied up in real estate. That question should resonate, and it would give them pause. Which asset will your heirs be forced to sell, and at what discount to satisfy the IRS? Again, that 9 month is not negotiable. Okay? An extension of time, we just had, yesterday was our tax filing deadline, and I had no choice but to ask for an extension, but I still had to pay the bill with that extension request. Okay. Is the IRS your intended business partner, or is that the default? Again, that's going to be the issue. That's going to be the case where the bulk of the asset is tied up in a business, for example, assuming that the cash is not readily available. What happens? Right. What is the plan for liquidity? It's a simple question. Ask the client. What is the liquidity plan? A majority of your assets are in real estate or it's in the family business that is worth a lot of money, but insufficient cash. What is the plan for liquidity? My favorite, if something were to happen today, do your heirs inherit a business or a tax problem? In many instances, it's a tax headache. So, I love this, and you know, it's another way to flip the script, if you will, as you get pushback from your clients. You build extraordinary wealth, but your current plan funds the IRS more efficiently than your heirs. An ILET with properly structured life insurance transfer control back to your family exactly when they need it most. Okay. All right, this is somewhat technical. We do have a couple of minutes. I don't know if you want to take questions or no. Are there any quick questions? Any? All right.
问题可以当场提问，当场解决，有没有 ？Okay, thank you, thank you.
Can the KMF2 contract be owned by ILET?
It can. It can. It's not recommended because the benefits are paid to the owner. The ILET will be the owner, right? So the benefits would then be paid to the ILET. There is no mechanism for you to then distribute the funds from the ILET to the intended target. But the trustee can always make a distribution to a beneficiary. I'm assuming that beneficiary is a child, a loved one of the grantor, and all is great when dealing with families, right? It's just going into someone else's pocket who then would do what they need to do. But not recommended, but it can. Correct. The ILET is the owner and beneficiary policy. Yes.
What's the advantage for only owner or beneficiary? Which way is better? Only this way.
I'm not sure I can get the question. Which is better? If it's owned by the ILET or the beneficiary?
Yeah, the ILET, you can be the owner, right? Or you can be the beneficiary. So if you only pick one, this is benefit more for the client. That's Mike.
So from the client's perspective, I mean, the first benefit is, as we mentioned before, it's outside of your estate. You don't want that estate inclusion, right? You want asset protection. So having the beneficiary owns the policy or having the benefit go directly to the person, you do not have that asset protection feature that is one of the mainstays of having an islet. One of the things that I would suggest, send Jessica an email. We actually have a lot of new content on islet, including a case study, as well as a flow chart that walks you through each of the steps. We have a new white paper on islet, and we of course have this PowerPoint deck as well. So we do have a lot of new content, including a one-pager that's a snapshot. Just reach out to Jessica. I will forward those content to her, and that should answer pretty much all your questions. The case study is very good.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Jessica and Steve. For the nationwide long-term care and then trust for the estate planning. So we have a lot of the opportunities for different kind of market. 所以这个nationwide 他们主要的几个特点就是他们的 long-term care 的 rider 是特别的 dollar to dollar 的真枪实弹的。那还有就是他们的刚才这个 Steve 介绍了这个 estate planning 的。其实，在我们的 East Ocean 我们也有很多的培训，定期的培训，我们会邀请这种专门做遗产规划的律师还有我们的这种的 partner 的这些保险公司来给我们做培训。大家可以去询问一下带你今天邀请今天来的这些朋友我们的这种 schedule 欢迎大家到时候我们都是很多线上的这些 plan OK let's
Okay, great presentation. Let's give Steve and Jessica another round of applause, please. Now it's my honor to introduce our last speaker in the morning section before lunch. He knows you're hungry, so he cuts his presentation from 30 minutes to 20 minutes. He actually attends East Ocean kickoff meeting every single year. He's my mentor who has brought East Ocean Group to the big family of AIMCO. For the past 15 years, he has, under his leadership, AIMCO has played a bigger role in the independent brokerage world. Earlier this year, we took AIMCO into a new height when AIMCO was acquired by Integrity through his great effort. He's a great guy with big vision, and now he will share with us AIMCO story. Let us give our warmest East Ocean applause to John Sambra, Managing Partner, President and CEO of AIMCO.
That's enough. Thank you. Good afternoon or good morning. Let's see what's going on here. Maybe I'll do this in 15 minutes. How's that? Listen, Should they close? Okay. Thank you very much. You know, I've been here before. I know you were getting sick of me, so I tried to get Mark Verbus to come, who is on my team. But we had a change in schedule. But, you know, I go to a lot of these meetings, but this is one that I, you know, look forward to the most. And I look forward to it because of the people that I see in the room. You're always such a lively crowd. I see so many female, and it's such a great honor to be here. I tell Simon every year, don't do this introduction that's so big and elaborate, and he always does it, so thank you, Simon. And Steve, that was a great presentation. Very thoughtful and very great pace. So it's a hard one to top, but I want to take a few minutes to give you an update on AIMCOR. AIMCOR continues to evolve as an organization, but I want to start by really, I want to start by saying that, you know, AIMCOR has been an organization that's been around for 15 years. I remember meeting Simon, it was what, 12 years ago. I think they were sort of starting East Ocean to go in the brokerage side. And it really has been an incredible relationship, a relationship that we have seen grow every year very deliberately, very systematically. But one thing I can tell you about AIMCOR is that what we tried to do in the last 15 years is to build something for the future. There's a lot of people in our business that are trying to protect the past. Our vision at AIMCOR is to always build what needs to be there in the future. And I can tell you from my perspective, and I know all the folks here that the carrier people will agree, that our business is upon its biggest opportunity it has been in a very long time. Because I think the biggest challenge for the world and for us is going to be the issue of longevity. People just live longer. And they're not going to be able to rely on the government to provide the benefits of either healthcare or retirement. We all know the statistics, but you know, people very well expect to, you know, retire before 65 and maybe live 30 years. So when you live 30 years, the need for income, the need for care is going to be bigger and longer than ever. And the only industry that can serve that is our industry. So think about the opportunity that exists for you in the next 10, 20, 30 years. You know, a little bit about AIMCOR. We have 38 general agencies, broker general agencies like East Ocean. But the statistic that I always love to talk about is that more than half of our principals are under the age of 50 or 45. So they're really focused on, you know, how do I need to evolve my business so that it can continue to be relevant and successful, not in the next 3 to 5 years, but in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And also, one quarter of our firms are run by female principals. And, you know, this room is an incredible example of what the agency of the future should look like. Sure, because I know how important culture is to you from an ethnicity standpoint, but AIMCOR's culture is we have a very high member engagement. And East Ocean works very closely with AIMCOR. AIMCOR sits behind East Ocean to provide you the tools and the resources that you need to grow your business. Our members, I mean, Simon and Vince and Jack, they continue to make investments in AIMCOR so we can continue to deliver some of the tools that can help you grow your business. And really, you know, we have a conviction that, you know, East Ocean is successful as an organization, but what East Ocean and all of you in the room can accomplish together is very much bigger than what each one of us can accomplish individually. And you know, we're driven by collaboration. Our goal is to really change third-party distribution and really give you the tools and the resources to help your clients. Simon mentioned, and you know, I'm going to talk about last year a little bit, and I can show you the growth that AIMCOR experienced in all the product lines that we work in. We saw a 37% increase in life sales. We saw a 29% increase in annuities, 62% growth in asset-based long-term care. And you know, some of the carriers here talked about the new products that are being approved in New York. That's going to even make that even better. And our DI business was up 11%. But really, you know, these are the carriers that we work with. I know some of them are not in New York. We have a core carrier structure, so the carriers that you see above the first line are the core carriers of Aimcore. But then you can see here all the carriers that you have access to through East Ocean's relationship with Aimcore. And Aimcore has a structure that every member, in order to be a member of Aimcore, has to do its business with our core carriers. If you're a member of Aimcore, and Aimcore has a relationship, let's say, with Allianz, you cannot sell Allianz outside of the Aimcore system. So that shows tremendous loyalty to our carriers, and our carriers have reciprocated with their support of Aimcore for the last 15 years, and we've experienced, great growth. You look at the sort of the pie from last year, you can see how our business, I know there's a lot of detail here, so I won't comment on it, but you can see how our business was spread between, our core carriers. East Ocean last year, what an incredible year. Record-breaking year, up 22%. And the people that did it are the people in this room. So please give yourselves a round of applause. What an incredible year for East Ocean. It was the first time in over 38 firms you brought East Ocean to the top 10 at Aimcore, and that was at a year that our life sales overall by 37%. But, what's our commitment to you? Our commitment as Aimcore is to continue to do three things: innovate, evolve as an organization, and grow. Simon mentioned that as of the beginning of this year, and that's probably the biggest thing that I would like to share with you today, as of January 1st, Aimcore was acquired by Integrity. Integrity is a $60 billion value organization. It's one of the largest distributors of life, health, wealth, retirement, and protection products. And what's really important here is for you to understand that Integrity acquired Aimcore. It did not acquire our firms. East Ocean continues to be an independently owned agency, but now is under the Aimcore umbrella. But Aimcore now is an Integrity-owned organization. And what does this do? Integrity has incredible technology, a unique health and wealth offering that we aspire to bring to you in the next 2 years. And really, Integrity, the only missing piece in their structure was an organization, a national marketing organization like Aimcore. So they acquired us with the intent of building the gold standard of an IMO for the independently owned BGA. And I sit here and say, what an opportunity. This was some of the publicity that when this was announced, two best-in-class organizations work together to deliver, the next level solutions for the BGA, for you guys as independent producers, and also for the financial institutions that we do business with. Again, a big powerhouse in life, health, and wealth. And by this acquisition, East Ocean became an owner of a shareholder of Integrity. So there's a vested interest between Integrity, Aimcore, and East Ocean to continue to grow the business. This is a little bit some of the numbers about Integrity. Last year, they did 31 million in premium. Their life insurance premium was $2.5 billion. And now Aimcore is part of a $2.5 billion pie. They did $25 billion in new sales in annuities. Simon wanted me to touch on annuities, which I have a couple of slides. They have 55 now billion under management. They serve 50 million clients, and they have more than 750 carrier relationships across their product lines. Aimcore has 17. So think about, there isn't really a carrier out there in any product line that Integrity doesn't have a relationship with. So what can you really expect? First of all, we hope to bring you more products, more access to products, including some of the proprietary products that Integrity has. Really looking to deliver new technology. AIMCOR is famous for delivering technology to its members. I can imagine, using their AI capabilities. They have 600 people in IT building software and tools for the agent and for the BGA. And really be able to bring you products not only in life, but also annuity, health, and wealth. And really, they also offer significant discount to agents for things like errors and omissions, and we hope, again, to bring that to you over time. And really, tools to grow your business. This is what AIMCOR offers to East Ocean today. These things are things that AIMCOR brings to a firm like East Ocean, and East Ocean brings to you as the financial advisors of East Ocean. We have our relationship with NIC. This is an in-force management company. We have a relationship with them. You can have full view of your in-force of business and discover new sales opportunities. We have a relationship with a company called Life Trends. I know the carriers like to put up all their heat maps and all that. We have a tool that looks across the industry with 33 different carriers. So how do you choose a product? How do you benchmark a product? AIMCOR is the only national marketing organization that has a B2B relationship with Life Trends. The Life Trends tools are available to Simon, to Vince, and their staff whenever you want to do a product selection. Marketing Center, a lot of toolkits in our Marketing Center. We have obviously a relationship with Pipeline. Pathwork is one that we launched last year. It's an AI underwriting tool. We use Pathwork where whenever we have a prospect, you use the AI underwriting capabilities to get a preliminary offer for a client rather than having to, collect all the medicals to get to an offer. You just use the AI capabilities, you give the information about your client, and Pathwork actually tells you, hey, for that particular client, this is what you can expect to get from, carrier XYZ. Assurance Bay, and then, our more newer relationships are going to be on the annuity side, which I'll touch on. And then obviously I mentioned benefits to the agents, and also, Medicare. We want to bring Medicare supplement to our BGAs for your clients. Again, annuity platform. AIMCOR has not had a formal annuity platform in the last 15 years. We use different sources to do annuity distribution. But right now, through Integrity, we're going to be able to bring all these tools for the annuity side, training material. Again, I mentioned before the retirement opportunity and the longevity opportunity. If you don't have annuities incorporated in your daily routine, in your practice, it's a very important product line to bring to your clients. Real-time reporting, on-demand case status, electronic licensing and appointment, a lot of sales and marketing material for annuities for you and for your clients, quoting and product analytics, and then through Hexure, be able to deliver an e-submission platform to really, make annuities a lot more transactional. So we're very excited to be bringing annuities to you through East Ocean, and I'm just going to put up here, I want to say the top, 50 annuity carriers that we're going to be able to access through our relationship with Integrity. I don't think there is a name out there in the annuity space that's not included in this list. We should be able to deliver the annuity platform to our 38 firms by the end of May. So really, really exciting things. And then, I do want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to close by saying, you have an incredible future ahead of you. Our job at AIMCOR is to enable East Ocean to be your #1 business partner, to be able to bring you everything that you need on a daily basis. All of us here that sit on this side of the table exist because one of you talks to a client every day. And the opportunity for planning, the opportunity for protection, the opportunity to plan for longevity, the opportunity to take advantage of our products is going to be the biggest that you've ever seen in the history of the life insurance business. And we are there to help you be successful for the long run. And again, I'll close with this by telling you that by way of its affiliation with AIMCOR, and now by way of AIMCOR's affiliation with Integrity, East Ocean will become an even better partner to you to help you grow, to help you expand, and to help you secure the future of you as a professional, but more importantly, we're in the business of serving consumers. So with that, again, I'm humbled by the opportunity to be here. I wanted to share this message with you and talk about the days ahead. And just to quote the CEO of Integrity, Ryan Adams, he walks into the office every day and he says, we're just getting started. So thank you very much and have a very successful 2020.
Andy Chen.
各位午安，你们好。相信大家吃得饱饱的。我们今天谢谢East Ocean请我们过来，因为我们有一些同事他今天非常欣赏的一个 Chinese breakfast style 的食物，非常好。那好高兴今天有一些大家可能再见面，因为去年前年南人也在这边我是先介绍一下自己，我是East Ocean是 Mass Mutual 万通会理财的养育市场总监。那我们今天非常荣幸的可以连同我们的 MMSD 就是我们独立经纪商的团队一起过来，因为我们想就是给大家一个很好的团队的一个支持。那今天我们主要是向大家简单的介绍一下 Mass Mutual， 还有就是我们在黄市场方面的重点的资源。今年呢，对于我们 Mass Mutual 万通会理财是特别的有意义，因为我们今年是庆祝我们175周年。我们 Mass Mutual 是在1851年成立，到现在是刚刚175年，所以我们今年是特别有很多的活动。而且我们大家也知道，对我们多元文化，尤其是华人市场来说，就是有一个长期、一个稳健的一个有信任的一个品牌，对我们来说是非常重要的。我们跟客户的话，他们也会经常会问你什么公司对吗？所以 Mass Mutual 在我们的世界品牌上面有一定地位。那当然呢，我们可以走到今天，其实关键就在于我们 Mass Mutual 的公司结构，还有我们的经营的理念。那大家也看到 Mass Mutual， 所以我们是一个 mutual company， 就是我们互惠型的公司。那简单来说呢，就是我们是为了我们保单持有人的长期的利益而营运，我们这不是要就是为了股东去服务。所以这个对我们来说就是长远的、长期的一个策略，对我们来说是非常重要的。我们不需要就是追求就是短期的结果，也这个真的是可以令到我们 Mass Mutual 在不同的周期、不同的经济环境上面，也可以持续的为我们的保单持有人负责。那我可以用三个很简单的具表性的指示给大家就是介绍一下。第一呢，就是2005年的我们公司的 Total Invest Capital， 就是我们的总资产总值，就是超过344亿美元 ，OK。然后我们当然在不同的各自的顶尖的评级也是非常高的，就是 AM Best、Fitch、S&P 也是一样的。那最后一点是我经常会提到，就是红利，我们非常 follow 我们 Mass Mutual 的红利，因为就是2015年今年的我们的已经批准了，就是符合之前的分红的股东人，我们有29.1亿元的分红，所以也是创这么多年来的一个新高。还有记得就是，因为我们经常会说红利不是保证，但是我们过去20年，这第20年的时候也是 维持在业绩最高最好的红利的分配。所以这个是对我们的保单持人就是一个很好的一个保证，很好的一个交代。那当然了，我们在华人市场，你们在座每一个人每天在就是照顾你的华人客户。我们在华人市场的时候，也有一些实际的资源会帮助你们的。那站在我们总公司的角度，我们有 MMSD， 我们也有很多不同资源帮服务，对吗？那我会很简单的说，因为现在呢，我们重点的策略就有几个实在的方面。第一，我会说是人才。你看到我们今天有这么多人过来，因为我们大金手关注部理财真的是很重视我们人才的资源，然后怎么去帮助我们的华人经济、我们的华人的理财代表，还有你们怎么帮你们的客户做理财规划。所以呢，你看到我们很多的 subject expert，我们 subject matter expert， 这是我们的专业的人才，无论是在我们的 wholesaler， 就是销售方面，在 key account 方面，或者是好像我自己就是长期就会在这个市场做那个研究，做那个市场推广。那就就是我们的高端市场的负责人，他也会在比较复杂的一个方面的，会帮你们做比较深入的一些讲解，深入的一些经验，所以等一下周也会跟大家探索一下。另外第二点呢，就是很多时候我们会把一些的 concept 是很简单的说的。我们会做很多的中文的翻译的资料。OK， 今天呢，我会带来一个小礼物给大家，就是你们可以看到，太感谢了。这个呢，就是我们最新出来的whole life spectrum， 就是很多时候可能你们的客人会问到是，在不同的缴费的方法跟那个不同的阶段的时候，你会用哪一种 whole life， 哪一种就是寿险比较合适，对吗？那有时候这些 concept 是很难跟你的客户解释一下，所以我们做了这个就是很简单的一个 whole life spectrum， 就像个光谱一样，你可以给那个客人很仔细的看到不同的方法，就是在可能有 10、12、15不同的年复结合对你的后来有什么的影响 ？OK？ 那当然了，我们今天也非常的荣幸，因为East Ocean是我们一个非常重要的一个 partner， 我们 MMSD 也愿意，我们会今年会提供一个我们叫 Complete Service， 就是一个专属性的体验。所以你们将会有你们East Ocean， 我会帮East Ocean提供一个personal microsite， 就是一个个人化的一个 website， 你们的网页。你到时候会看到很多我们的中文的资料，或者是它会很多的资料会放上去，所以对你们就是只有是East Ocean， 你们才有一个专属性的体验。今年就是我们的重点，就是把你们的plan看出来的。OK。那我想主要就是我们今天等于是说明这样，所以我希望就是有机会给我们的 external wholesaler， 就是 Mike， 就是你们有一天跟 Simon、Vincent、Jack 我们的同事在联系，他对我们来说就是很多的 product 方面的资料也可以讲解一下。那个。
你好。After lunch, so I gotta get you motivated, we gotta get you excited and engaged. Thank you for your attention. My name is Michael McCarthy. I am the wholesaler that covers the East Ocean for Massachusetts, and cover all of state of New York. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my third conference, my third sales talk meeting with the East Ocean. And I thoroughly enjoy being here. I've been asked to comment a little bit about our portfolio. Kenny just went through the piece. If you haven't seen the piece, please go up and get it. All the pieces are in Mandarin specifically for this meeting. So when you think about Mass Mutual, you think about a company that's 175 years old. So we've always been known as Mass Mutual equals whole life. But now we're diversifying our portfolio and getting more entrenched in products that are more sold in the brokerage space. And that means products are used to sell. So very universal life. anybody, before I go through, the trivia question for you. Does anybody know what product is not available for sale in the state of New York for mass media? Yes, again. It could be a trick question. All of our products are for sale in the state of New York. So, keep you engaged, keep going on your toes. So all of our products are for sale in the state of New York. So that's a big advantage for me. When I'm coming over the Throgs Neck Bridge and going along now, or I'm coming into the city, that I can tout that all of Mass Mutual products you can sell. I talked about diversification. So one of the things you'll be surprised to see is the fact that Universal Life has not been something that Mass Mutual has been competitive in. And while I was at our booth, quite a number of people came up to me and said, hey, can you talk about Be Well Garden in New York? I said, I'm going to talk about it on stage, so give me a minute. Coming this July, Mass Mutual will have a guaranteed universal life product for sale in the state of New York that will be extremely competitive. When I mean competitive, it's going to be sold quite expensively when you're looking at short days. So 10 premiums or less. The target market is age 45 all the way up to age 75. The return of premium option you can have. That's free, included. There's also going to be a chronic illness rider. And outside the state of New York, in July, when we roll this out, outside the state of New York, we will be introducing on that same product a long-term care rider. So for any of you folks that are selling outside the state of New York, we're going to have a long-term care rider. So when you think about that, you think about a company that's been entrenched for 175 years in whole life. But now we're getting more into the portfolio of diversification, talking about and building products that you folks are used to selling in the brokerage space. So in addition to having a very competitive whole life series that Candy went through, we've also got a competitive term. And the term, I read a lot of term for the sake of conversion, and conversions are strong in our business. So again, we sell. So there's no limit in terms of what product. The Guaranteed Universal Life product, we talk about diversification. It gives us one more, I guess, solution for you folks to look at this for. So this is an opportunity for you to come back to Mass Mutual for more than just whole life, but look at us for Guaranteed Universal Life. And the guarantees go to age 121, but you can dial it back to life expectancy or anything in between. So we look forward to seeing a lot of activity with this product, especially in New York. I've been, this product came out last July, and I've been looking for this for a long time. And now we're going to have a product that's extremely competitive. And we'll be able to sell this, again, in the short pay space. And with the underwriting we've got, I think it'll be very clear. Now, a little bit of a motivation. Whether it be a guaranteed universal life, a whole life, or even a term product, for every $5,000 premium you place, I'm going to make sure you get one of these DMRs. So there's no limit. If you sell 6 policies, I will give you 60. If you get tired of having them after 2, you want something else, I'll give you something else, whether it be a windbreaker or another item. Kind of a motivation for anybody who wants to sell one of our products for a $5,000 premium or more, you get one of these. So I will let you hand this out to one of your guests. So, with that, my prepared remarks are over, but I wanted to give time to Joel Liu, who's the head of our advanced sales department. And we're going to be doing an estate planning meeting in his office on May the 7th. So anybody who's interested in attending that, it's going to be a Zoom call. And we'll get promotion motion out to the appropriate parties well in advance. So I want to extend the time for Joel to finish up our time on stage. Thank you very much. 大家好，像 Michael 说的，名字是周六，我是 Mass Mutual 的高端市场销售主管跟 Head of Sales。其实我每次都来纽约的时候，跟 Simon、跟 Jack、跟 Vincent 来有机会跟你们分享一下信息的时候，我都是很高兴。对，我是New Jersey长大的，我相信你们从口音或发音都能听得出来我是美国出生的人，不是 ABC， 还是会讲一点中文，还是 ABC。可是我喜欢的就是因为其实我大学毕业的时候，我第一个工作也是一个销售保险销售的经纪人。OK， 那时候是 John Hancock Financial Network。但是我觉得我慢慢开始在跟我的家人、跟我的朋友开始帮他们做计划的时候，我才发现，其实特别是第一代移民到美国的时候，有很多人不了解，其实在美国要做财务规划的时候，有什么种工具可以用？你们今天早上已经听了花很多时间，从很多不一样的保险公司都听到他们的产品、他们的好处、他们的优点。那我们 Mass Mutual 也是有我们的好处、我们的优点、我们的非常好的产品。刚才Mike 跟 Ken 都已经提到我们的Whole Life Spectrum，right？ 其实你不用照相，我们等一下在桌上还有很多东西印出来。那像 Candy 说了，我们也会帮 East Ocean 我们的经纪人设计一种的 microsite， 一个特别的 digital sales， 我们会把全部我们的资料、我们的广告、我们的产品的信息都放在这边上去，你们根本到那边都可以去找到，也是会有翻译到中文这种。可是其实我今天想分享的不是产品，也不一定是我会讲到一些我团队我能帮助的地方。但是我真的想讲的就是，其实我觉得，因为我自己也做过。我也当过经纪人，我觉得你们应该花最多时间在做什么东西。OK， 不好意思，Simon，你可能有点反对，可是我觉得你们应该花最多的时间，不是马上就是销售产品，不一定是马上就是销售保险。你们应该花最多时间做的是什么？帮你们的客户制定他们有什么计划。Start with the plan, start with the process, not the process。就是你要帮他们看，他们有什么种，他们的目标是什么？那他们有一种目标的时候，他们应该是做什么计划？计划做完的时候，你们才可以帮他们提供一些解决的方案。解决的方案可能就是用不一样的产品。那我不会说终身寿险是最好的产品，我也不会说指数型保险是最好的产品。我觉得每一种都应该会用到。可是你们需要知道的是什么？你们需要知道就是说，我是多点工具是对你们的客户是比较好，比较多帮忙，那是怎么来用这种不一样的工具 ？OK， 刚才他们 Candy 跟 Michael 也说过，我们这是一个可能最有名的170年就是这种终身寿险的产品。可是 Michael 也说了，我们今年第2季度就是第3季度7月，第3季度就会出来一个 GUL 在纽约纽约州，我们在其他的州，加州以外，这个新的 UO Guard、GUL 都已经可以写了，所以你们有客户在 New Jersey， 有客户在 Massachusetts 或是 Connecticut， 他们都已经可以申请这个新的 GUL， 非常好 for 刚才 Michael 也说的就是短付，可能到5年、7年，或是一次性付的，如果已经存在的这种保单，他们肯定有些现金值。那他们也不缺那个现金值，可是他们还要这个死亡赔偿金，他们没有这个赔偿金可能没有保证到他们到120几岁的时候，他们要把这个保证拉长的时候，这个就会来用。其实这个就是一种 example， OK， 这个就是一种例子。你们要能问的就是说，你最在乎的是什么？你是需要现金值，你是需要死亡赔偿金？你是想做到什么东西？你希望是可以帮忙自己做到什么东西？你是要保护后代，你是要保护自己的收入，还是你是要为了孩子们、孙子存一点钱，就是来付学费 ？OK？ 但是我知道这个是
最好的第一点就是这些东西能做得到的时候，也是不是那么容易，要花很多时间。我其实今天早上也跟Vincent谈，也花了一些时间来谈。我们不是说你们就是要自己去找方法来这样做。我代表保险公司的时候，也是跟Simon 跟 East Ocean 跟 Jack 跟 Vincent 一起，也跟 Jenny 一直在有这种的 partnership。我们是希望是我们可以，你们可以用我们这种保险公司，特别是大互惠保险公司的这种资源，来自己帮你们提供比较好的福利服务，提供比较好的这种完美的这种规划。OK，so 刚才 Michael 也提到了，我们5月7号我会在 Chinatown Office， 对不对 ？Chinatown Office 会帮你们做一种的遗产规划的这种培训。OK， 我知道我们都吃完餐睡午觉，就知道今天可能不会花很多时间来讲产品或是法律或是遗产规划的东西。我就是想打一个小广告，说我们5月7号在 Chinatown Office， 我会花比较多时间来做一些遗产规划的培训。那这个培训的目的是什么？不是说你们都自己也要当律师。我已经借过很多的钱，你们没有去再多借钱去上法学院。我的目的是说，我们可以给你们一些好的问题，可以去问你的客户，怎么开门，怎么开始攻击他们，看他们有什么种东西，他们自己计划可能没照顾的，或是没考虑到的，就是应该有什么种话题我们可以用来跟他们，不是说攻击他们，就是只是要逗他们开始做一种规划。OK， 特别是像我刚才说的，我是美国出生的，我从我的爸妈那边已经看得出来，他们也是跟很多，我相信跟你很多你的客户都是一样的，他们是从大学毕业晚点都是当这种留学生，可能上一个 graduate school 或是上一个 PhD 或怎么样，但在这边开始要养孩子的时候，他们也不了解老梅的这种家庭他们是做什么规划。其实这种产品，保险、长期护理、这种投资，或是你要讲法律的这种工具，信托啊，那种不同的这种公司的这种的setup，像 LLC 或者 LLC 型公司的那些公司，这些东西都是从老美家庭上这个开始用，他们用到很多这种很成功的那种legal trade，我们特别是在白市场。没有足够的这种顾问或是经纪人可以真正帮他们这种做这个规划。对，我希望就是我们 Mass Mutual 跟 East Ocean 一起可以合起来做这种。对，像我说的，在桌上还有这个资料，你从这边看到这个是终身寿险，我们是很多不一样种的，从只付8年的，一直到付终身的这种付到100岁的。你要看你的客户，他们可能有什么需求，才是应该就知道什么产品需要做。可是我知道很多人可能对 Mass Mutual 还是不熟，就我的答案是这样子的。对，我的答案是我这个团队，这个 Advanced Sales 团队，我们有2位律师，包括我2位律师，2位非常好、非常强的这种Advanced Case Designers。所以如果你见到一些问题，或是你开始跟客户来谈这种规划开始做这种规划的过程中的时候，也不知道下一步是怎么做，你们都可以通知我。当然 ，Michael 是你们的 wholesale，Michael 是你们的人寿保险的这种的 wholesale， 可是我的团队，我们是不是按照你住哪一州或者是什么种的这种产品，我们是包全国那每一种产品，就是人寿保险跟那个disability income insurance， 就是特别是你要开始销售给比较年轻的这一代，像 millennials 跟 Gen Z， 很多人他们可能自己没有开始生孩子，或是可能也还没结婚，可是他们最大的可能风险是什么？如果他们自己不能在工作的时候，所以 disability income insurance 是非常重要的。你们有这种需要这种帮忙，我们都可以帮。OK， 对。Simon 跟 Vincent 后来就说，希望我可以分享一下我这个团队，我们的是有什么种资源可以给你们可以帮你们的。我就是说，刚才不知道有没有听到 Candy 说 我这个 MMSD Mass Mutual Strategic Distributors 这个非常分享通路，我们只照顾独立经纪人。OK， 你肯定有见过其他的 Mass Mutual 的经纪人，肯定有看到他们有很大的办公室或者怎么样。我不照顾他们，我只是照顾独立经纪人，因为你们是跟 East Ocean 有关系。OK， 有什么问题吗？我可以知道刚才已经花一点时间，有什么？其实什么东西想问的，我都可以试试看回答。好，如果没有，那就是像刚才Kelly 说的，我们很高兴今天有这个机会跟你们去分享一些信息。希望我知道现在已经听过，今天已经听过很多东西，我不要再多说，就是给你们有什么问题，就是我希望你们能记得就是这样，有什么问题都可以来找我。在这个 management 的公司，我们是希望真的未来会有很多比较多的机会来我们来一起有兴趣。OK， 好，谢谢。
Financial, it's a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate it. Just want to open up for Henry, but I have a couple things to say. Corebridge just merged with March with Equitable. So we, later this year, hopefully will become Equitable. Still two great companies are merging. There'll be more details, but we'll have 22 million customers, which is exciting. We're going to have $1.5 trillion of assets. So we're really excited to do that. It's business as usual, so we still have our QOL product. Nothing's changing. We still have our great term, selected term. So everything is changing. Not everything's changing. Everything's the same. But at the end of the quarter, I mean the fourth quarter, most likely this year, we will become Equitable. Now, the management team, we know the CEO of our company at Corebridge, Mark Constantini, will stay the CEO. It will be out of Houston, Texas. Those are the details that we can provide. Now, as more details come, I will keep Simon and your team make sure that everyone knows all the latest and greatest information. But without further ado, I brought my chief economist, Henry Moe. He's a doctor. He has many initials, doctor, CFP, all these great things, but something exciting I wanted to bring to your attention. So here's Henry. Thank you so much.
好，我叫中文名叫莫恒武，我是中国大陆留学过来，2002年来美国，所以我是读博士在这里读，工作也在这里读。我之前是在一家投行叫 Credit Suisse 工作，以后转到 AIG。AIG 的话，在大概3年前分拆出来 Corebridge， 刚刚那个六也说，我们到美国会跟 Equitable 合并，变成一个比较大的一个连锁这种 Equitable。那今天我跟大家讲的是对这个美国宏观经济的一些看法。关于这个保险产品有什么问题可以问我这个同事大概有5-6张这个幻灯片，完了以后大家有什么问题的话，关于这个宏观经济市场可以向我提问，谢谢。OK， 所以大家都知道，过去1个多月，市场上谈论最多的一个词，肯定就是不是伊朗就是有，就是金融市场的一举一动，基本上每天要看看这油价涨不涨，看看这个特朗普、推特又发了什么，和谈有没有结果。那我们先看看对经济有什么影响。大家看到这2天，特别这个星期股市狂涨，又创新高了，对不对？但是呢，大家去加油，你看97号还是4块5、4块7毛多。全美，我今天早上查了一下，全美平均的这个unleash 无铅的这个油价4块1毛3，非常贵，对不对？那我们都知道美国是车费上的国家，这油价这么贵，那肯定对消费者有影响，特别是对这些中低收入的这些消费者，因为这个油价某种程度也是一种刚需，每天得去上班接送小孩，你这个花多了，另外地方只能花少，对吧？所以我们首先看看，对这个经济影响，大概是怎么样？看左边这个图，我特地选了 日子，一个是2月27号，2月27号是2月份最后一天，然后第2天就开始打仗了，然后这个是橙色的是4月15号，昨天下午，也就是说市场共识对于2020年整年经济的增长，从打仗前的2.5降到2.2，降到0.3个百分点。通胀呢，选了2个通胀指标，一个是核心消费者平减指数，一个是剔除这个能源和食品以外的这个那个核心消费者平减指数，一个是包含了所有产品的这个消费者平减指数，肯定通胀涨了，从2.5就是年底的通胀，从预期2.5涨到2.9，核心的消费者平减指数2.8、2.6涨到2.8，这2个指标都是联储最看重的这个通胀的指标。联储最看重的不是我们通常说的这个消费者通胀，而是这个消费平减指数。那失业率倒是没有多少变化，4.4到4.5。我们大家都知道，过去几年美国整个就业环境就是又没有失业又没有就业，我们叫做一个 job light 一个就业的一个环境。那总体的环境给人感觉就像我这里这个 title 说的 ，a mild stagflation， 就是说一个比较轻微的一个滞胀，比较轻微的滞胀。我刚刚讲到这个油价，事实上如果说今年的油价全年维持在4块钱这么一个水平，那今年的话，这个油价全美国的这个消费者要多支出1150亿，这比2025年。我们都知道去年通过了这个大美丽法案，我们大家都报了税的，估计要么少交税，要么就多拿钱回来了，对吧？我们特别是在我们这个纽约啊、纽约市啊，把这个 salt cap 往上提了一下，大家都比较开心。但是呢，如果从全美来看，真的是4块钱油价的话，这个全年多花了1150亿美元，轻而易举的就把这个大美丽法案给消费者带来了600亿额外的这个退款，轻而易举的就吃掉。所以这个是一个对经济的一个影响，基本上就是造成了一个轻微的滞胀的这么一个局面。我刚刚讲到了，就是说你在汽油上面你消费多了的话，别的方面肯定要减少。这个是美洲银行跟美国银行，它的信用卡、它的 debit 卡，它每天都有数据，所以我们看到就是说这个深蓝色的这个是所有的这个信卡的这个消费按年率算的一个增长。我们可以看到的话，这个橙色这个就是说剔除了这个 gasoline 这个油价以后，明显的这个就比这个所有的这个信用卡的这个消费要低。而且我们可以看到右边这个图就是剔除了这个日常用品，还有这个汽油以外，按照不同收入家庭来分的这么一个支出增长的一个状况。我们可以看到，高收入家庭是这条线，这个淡蓝，低收入是深蓝。他们俩以前在过去1个月以前，大致增长还差不多，对不对？那过去1个多月，明显这个 gap 这个差距就拉大，低收入家庭这个增速明显就低了很多。没办法，因为你只有那么多钱，你在油价上面多花了，别的地方也只能减少。所以这个是对消费者的这个影响是显而易见，特别是对这个中低收入的这么一个家庭。那下一步怎么走？下一步的话，基本上就是我们说看天吃饭，看牛吃饭，基本上就是这个是 Deutsche Bank， 德意志银行，他说这个霍尔木兹海峡什么时候开？它这个油价不同的预测，就是说最理想的就是说4月份开，我们都知道现在还没有开，对不对？现在特朗普学了我们孙子兵法，就是 blockade， 对不对？你围你的，我在外面再围一层，所以没有开，所以这个基本上都可以不用去看。如果是5月开呢，它会还要慢慢从100慢慢这样下来。 所以基本上就海峡关闭的时间越长，油价停留在高位的时间也就长。为什么？哪怕明天就开，这个整个战争里面对于这个产油设施、港口都有一些损坏，这也需要时间去修复。第一，第二的话，这个船运公司也需要重建这个信心，重新调度。所以不是说今天开，明天就油轮就咣咣咣就通过海峡，就还没有。所以这个是如果是拖到这个年底，那就比较可怕的一个，就是11月份，这就比较可怕。所以希望的话，能够谈成一个长久的一个停火的这个协议。目前来看，双方都打得比较精疲力尽，有这个意愿是达成一个停火协议。但是目前谈是谈归谈，海峡是依然关闭的，没有开的。那这个如果是长期这样下去呢，如果就会造成对经济更大规模下滑的这个影响。我们刚刚已经看到，已经下调了0.3个百分点。如果所以市场对于未来12个月，右边这个图，就是市场对于未来12个月美国进入这个经济衰退的一个预测。从这个25%，现在已经升了5个百分点到30%左右。好，讲到这个劳工市场，那刚刚讲到了，就说有这个风险，但是为什么我们看到从2.5降到2.2，那美国经济还可以？那凭良心话，美国经济它的潜在增长率也就2%左右，所以2.2的这个经济增长，虽然比没有战争以前要低一些，但是也还 OK， 还可以的。就关键就是说，它这个劳工市场，它虽然增长的比较缓慢，但是还算是比较稳定。第一季度这个非农就业的平均大概7万个职位每个月，私营企业大概8万个职位，就说相对的还是比较稳定。而且的话，由于这几年我们知道特朗普上台做了一个很大的一个事情，就是收紧这个移民政策，所以就是从这个特别是南部这个非法移民基本上都已经归零，然后还不停的把这个境内的非法移民递解出境，所以美国的这个劳工市场这个增长是不停的放缓。就联储就是主席，他最近在3月份的联储会议，他自己就说，美国是可能每个月都不太需要这个新的净的这个劳工增长，就可以维持失业率不变。所以我们刚刚看到第一张图，看到没有？这个通胀提升了，这个经济增长调低了，但是这个失业率4.5调到4.4，调到4.5，基本上都没有动。就是说现在这个叫 break even 这个 job rate， 就是说维持劳动市场平衡，可能就是每个月大概就是说3万到5万个这职位就可以，就大概就目前这种情况。而且我们都知道，现在大家都在讲的这个另外一个词叫 AI 需要有大量的这个投资，所以美国目前这个投资非常强劲。我们可以大家看右上角这个图，红色这条线是这个核心的这个资本投入，你看这红线它是按6个月算的这个按6个月变化算的年率算，这个红线一直往上扬。蓝色这条线呢是企业的投资欲望，就是投资的这个预期也一直往上走。就刚刚巴克利右下角这个巴克利，他预计什么？就是说大家看到这个很多数字，我就跟你讲一个数字，关键是这个1.1万亿，就说到2028年，就是这些大型的这个高科技公司，它的 AI 方面的资本投入会超过1.1万亿。那2025年才是多少？这个6000，所以差不多还要 double。所以说这个强劲的投资也是维持了这个美国经济增长。尽管遇到了过去2年，我们有很多的就外部的因素，比如去年最大的就是关税，对不对？今年就是这个伊朗战争、油价。如果按照一般的这个经济遇上这么大的这个外部冲击，可能顶不住。但美国的经济韧性还是十足，所以说它这个虽然经济增长放缓，但是呢，它这个并没有说要到衰退的这个地步。我们刚刚讲到，对未来12个月衰退的预期已经是30%，虽然有比20%要高。 那最后一个图讲到就是对大家都很关心的，跟保险、跟金融市场都有关系的利率，联储怎么走，然后10年期利率，10年期利率也可能是这个金融市场上最重要的一个指标，因为都跟这种房地产贷款是连在一起。那今年来讲，对联储这个看法，从这个战前和战后是两重天。当然，你看到这从1月份市场最高丰收预期的话，联储可能还要差不多要降息2.5到就3次。那目前甚至打仗以后有一段时间，甚至预期联储要加息，现在回到可能就是降一点点，就是这个变化非常大。但我个人的预测还会是降1次左右，因为我们会有一个新的这个联储主席，而且特朗普的话，他自己也说他是预期新的这个联储主席的话，他会降息。但是我觉得降很多也没有可能，毕竟我们刚看到，毕竟是通胀，它是上升的，实在的上升，也存在了一个从headline 通胀传导到这个核心通胀的一个风险。第二个就是经济放缓，但是劳动市场相对是稳定，所以联储更多的可能就是会放慢降息的这个步伐。wait and see， 就是边走边看这个战争对于经济的影响究竟在哪里。那在这种情况，就说这个高的利率维持更高的情况，这种情况底下呢，10年期的这个利率，这10年期国债利率，我们估计的话也会维持在这个高位。这个市场共识是到年底大概在4.14、4.15左右，比现在大概4.28左右会稍微低一点。我个人认为可能还会在这个4%以上，就是基本上我想就是大概5、6个这个应该把这个美国经济过去1、2年未来1年、2年的一些看法跟大家分享一下。You don't think we have time for Q&A? OK. 如果有什么问题可以问。
Any questions? No?
好，按照现在的情况，这个利率，贷款利率最高，这个贷款利率。mortgage。对，这是为什么我跟大家讲这个10 year。这个美国最流行的30 year 是30年，这个 fixed mortgage rate 是基本上跟这个10 year 是挂钩的。所以说这个打仗以后 mortgage rate 一直在往上走。如果是这个10年期国债它不下来的话，贷款利率很难会有大幅度这边下滑。就说过去这打仗前有一段时间下滑，更多的是因为这2年这个美国的一个房地产交易非常清淡，就是更多的是这些银行之间竞争，把自己的利润打薄，然后的话把这个贷款利率往下走一点。因为我去年我自己卖了一个房子，买了一个房子，我还是比较清楚这个贷款利率走势。但是如果你10年期利率一直维持在这个高位的话，很难有大幅度的下滑。因为特朗普他是这一届政府，他有一个很大的一个诉求，他是想把这个房价变得更加 affordable， 但是变得更加 affordable 有很多方面。第一，你要增加供应，因为我们知道美国的独立屋长期处于供不应求的一个状况。因为我在公司里我也负责这个房地产市场的研究，保险公司买了很多房地产，所以这个第一，独立屋供不应求。第二，最大的一个问题就是这个贷款利率。你现在到银行去，你现在30年肯定要6点多，对不对？第二呢，以前这个 COVID 以前最低的2点多都有，3点、4点很普遍都3点多，这你要多花多少钱，对不对？所以这个是一个最大的问题。问题就是刚才讲到了，联储它是不可能大规模的去降息。哪怕你换一个特朗普新任命的 Kevin Walsh， 因为你这个毕竟通胀打下来，毕竟劳动市场并没有崩溃，对不对？他尽管比较鸽派，他也不可能 特别大幅度的降息，所以如果能够比市场预期高一点降一次，今年我觉得已经不错了。那这种情况下，你不要预期10年期国债能够下来的特别多。另外，我刚刚忘了跟大家说，我跟 Simon 都是这个华美保险协会的这个 board member， 也非常的高兴有机会跟当地这个华人这个保险这个社区服务。好，还有问题吗？大家？好，对，这个是的，因为我刚刚已经给大家看了一个图嘛，对吧？对，你就会看到，如果说你到11月份，你还是不开，那你这个油价可能就要冲到将近200块，然后慢慢再下来。霍尔木斯海峡就是全球20%的油是供应者，影响最大的不是美国。其实这一波美国是赢家，你们可以看报道，就说美国这个对石油出口创新高，影响最大的是什么？是亚洲。但是这个全球经济它是一体，对吧？那可能对美国影响小一点，但是因为你这个日本、韩国、马来西亚，哪怕中国，哪怕你储备比较多，有的时候也会把全球经济会带上来。我倒不觉得就是说协议谈不成会导致美国进入经济衰退，但是这个整个的进入市场冲击，毫无疑问是比较大。特别现在你看，海峡都没有开，股票股指已经创新高了。如果说真的是谈崩掉了，你想想看，肯定这个进入市场就是会大幅的波动，这样子的话对经济也是有进一步的影响。目前来看，双方都有达成的这个愿望，因为你现在把这个汇率卡关闭了，伊朗你自己也出不去了。伊朗最大的这个收入也是卖油，你也卖不了油，你卖不了油，你拿什么钱去换食物啊，换什么东西？你这整个国家被打得成苍白，对不对？所以当然美国现在也不想打，中期选举马上要来，再打的话，这民意就掉到地板上去了，对不对？就双方它是有这么一个动机想谈成，只冲动光就是，反正不管谈成谈不成，金融市场已经目前为止已经把它当做谈成了，啊？对，这很直观的嘛，因为中国大部分油是从中东过去的，对，你哪怕你现在不停的释放这个战略储备，你这战略储备总会有王的，对，希望可以谈成，好。
Thank you.
好，谢谢我们的后面的朋友。他们特别是 Henry 用中文为我们解释了这个整个的宏观经济，让大家对整个的市场经济有一个概念当然，我们整个的这个销售还是对我们自己比较关键的，对不对？那接下来我们还有另外一个环节，最后一个我们的产品部门的是从Clover's Life. Let's welcome the Owens from the Clover's Life. He is the RVP of the sales, Northeast from Columbia Life. Okay, let's give him a big applause.
Hello? First, thank you very much. What a great event. What a great event. What a great lunch. I mean, I couldn't believe it just kept going and going and going. I think table 6 wins. We had a good table over there. But all the tables looked like they were having a good time. But first, thank you very much. Correct on Leo went on with Columbus Life. Very new to some of you. My Chinese is not that good, so we're going to start here. But I wanted to kind of go through a couple of things. I wanted to cover figure that. There we go. I really wanted to cover three things that change your life today. There's no question about it. One is, what is the difference between a policy and the company that supports the policy? I think it's very important. I've been doing this 30 years. I've evolved. I will tell you that's a very important feature. Difference between a quote and a company. These are a couple of straightforward things that we look at. I'm going to bounce through. I didn't pick all 12, obviously. We don't have time for that. I do promise we will get you out of here. I will be on time for Vince. I'm going to be short, sweet, to the point. But we've got a few to go over. Where's our niche? Where do we fit? Also, it's important to let you know, I wanted to go through our accelerated death benefit rider because it's different than most 90% of the riders that are out there. It's easier, quicker, faster for the client. Doesn't embarrass you. It's been back tested. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also go over a couple of things about actual returns versus illustrated returns. We talked about that. So straightforward products. We're just like any of the other carriers up here. We carry a very strong IUL suite. GUL, the Guaranteed Universal Life, you'll see that in just a second. Term and annuities. With that, keep moving the wrong one. Part of being a straightforward company is just keeping it very simple. So the eye forward is that it's easy to explain, it's easy to sell, it's easy to work through, and it's only got a couple. We're working with the S&P 500. We don't work with the hocus pocus or these different funds that are made up and then underperform. We back test all of ours, so we know exactly where we're going in highly competitive rates. One thing about the VUL, and I was told you might be interested in our GUL, I beg your pardon, Guaranteed Universal Life. It's flexible. Versatility, guarantee it up to, and you can custom design it for a client, 90, 95, or lifetime. And it's got a catch-up feature. But it's easy for you to go ahead and design this for a client. You can take it up to 120. So custom design it, make it as cheap as you want, as expensive as you want, and that's Columbus Life's Guaranteed Universal Life. I also wanted to point out a little bit about the annuities because they were mentioned earlier. Our max issue age is 89, which means as long as your client hasn't turned 90, they're still good for it. No chargeback on commission or if there's death or anything like that. It's also got a return of premium for the client, so it's easy to explain, and it's a highly liquid product. Now we talk a little bit about actual versus illustrated. That was kind of the topic I wanted to get to. The illustration is an example of what may happen, and then the actual policy performance is going to be determined by contractual elements. So what you got to realize is when I started 30 years ago, there was 2,400 insurance companies. 2,400. Just like they said earlier today, there's 719 left. So we went from 2,400 consolidated down to 719. Within 2 years, that'll be under 600. Estimated. Why is that so important? Well, if you sell company A, they get bought by company B, and then are consolidated with company C. The client still wants to ask you questions. The CPA is going to ask you questions. The attorney is going to ask you questions. And they all expect you to know about company C. The other thing is, what you find is, when companies actually move, when they're bought, when they're purchased, part of the attractiveness is you have a maximum charges. So right now you might only be charged 3%, but the maximum charge is 7%. So they move up the fill. They also charge you more on some accounts, they charge you more on various things, and you'll see different triggers in that in just a moment. So when I say triggers, I mean things like fees. So if the account actually, if the firm is sold or bought, the fees can change, the expenses can change, the cost of insurance. We've never raised cost of insurance in 130 years. We've never once. Same thing, we've not moved our crediting rating. We saw some other complex scores and some scores. We're at 96 going to 97. And anything that's non-guaranteed can move. So they might illustrate you a beautiful illustration, but the company doesn't have to back it because it's non-guaranteed. The other thing is you want to lower guaranteed expenses, this is what you want to look for, our specialty. Guaranteed bonuses, so regardless of the performance, you know exactly what we're going to get. There's guaranteed bonuses and there's non-guaranteed bonuses. So buyer beware, agent beware. And avoid asset-based fund charges. I mean, right now we only use the S&P 500 because it's the cheapest. I wanted to tell you 2 seconds about, because you don't do this for free. We've got some of the highest targets in the industry. Out of that 700 companies that are left, we're in the top few. Unlimited rolling targets, that means that if your client keeps paying, you get to keep paying. 12-year renewals, and then lifetime cash value trails. Why is that important to you? Well, anytime there's a cash value in the account, you're earning a trail on that cash value all the way for the life of the account. So you might have sold it 20 years ago, but you're still getting paid. The same thing with your heirs. If you, heaven forbid, pass, the beneficiaries, available for beneficiaries, they're paid for the life of the policy. So they don't have to be licensed, they don't have to be anything. There's just a typical example what the trail does. This guy only sold 3.5 policies a year, but he made $10,038 in 2022, and then when you look at the trails for 15 years, his total trails paid him $136,661. That's a little different. You got to think different. The other thing that we do different is non-qualified deferred comp, which means you can start putting away money for your retirement if you wish to. Now I'm trying to tell you, there's 3 things we're going to talk about. The other important thing would be predictable living benefits. So we back test all of our living benefits. We have the terminal illness, chronic illness, specified medical. And what you'll see is they work very similar to all the other carriers with one major difference. You want to provide predictable client stuff. So if you're selling it to your best customer, your mother, your father, your brother, you're selling it to a loved one, we back test, which means we run all the ones we've done and we test them to see what we quoted versus what we pay. We always underpromise and overperform. The other thing is there's no underwriting in time of death, which is very different. Remember I told you at the beginning, 90% different than everybody else? Probably 95%. We don't underwrite, we don't send it to actuaries. We actually just have a 1-page claim form, super easy for you and the client. And there's always a death benefit no matter what they withdraw, guaranteed at the end. This, and I've been doing it a long time, I can't do. This is what happens when you sell the average accelerated death benefit rider. That's the calculation for mortality, and then to the right is the one for actuarial, and both have to be done. So, I'm not saying which carriers do it, but you better understand that 95% of the carriers do. There's only 2 that I'm aware of that we use the lean method, which is much, much more simple. But this is what the client goes through. My best example is, just last week, I had an accelerated death benefit claim processed in 11 days. Well, 11 days is overly impressive, but it's impressive. The other carrier that they're working with, they had a policy as well, is over 90 days. So they're actually at 100 days by now, and they still haven't seen one check to the heirs. Why? Because they have to go through actuarial and mortality tables. Are you really that sick? You don't want to have to get underwritten at the time of claim. If I was selling it to my parents, I definitely want this, which is simpler, easier to explain. It's always the cash surrender value, and for the chronic illness, it's lesser of $250 or 40% of the net amount at risk, so your insured amount. The interesting thing is there's always a death benefit that follows, so we don't take that out. If your client wanted to take it over a 3 to 10 year period, they could take up to $1 million or half of the death benefit. One of our most popular features. Field training, what do? I mean, that's what I do. I'm day to day. I'm on the phone. My partner's over there. I'm over there. But what I do daily is provides product information, illustrations, comparisons, case designs, and trainings online. We, just like some of the attorneys you saw up here, they're complex case design. document reviews, things like that. They'll do all your general tax. So there's a ton of attorneys and accountants and CPAs all up at the home office waiting to take your call. One of our specialties is business owners. So as you start to work with business owners, certainly think about us for a solution. They also illustrate very, very well. They'll send a big packet, probably 70 to 100 pages long, to show exactly what we can do for that business and how we can do with life insurance. Multicultural support, just like this room. We do 15 different languages right now. We're getting ready to add on to that, but also the customer service, I point that out, that any kind of personal health interviews or anything they need, they can request an interpreter and they'll actually take the interpretation. So whether it's Hmong, Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Korean, Spanish, Vietnamese, they even do English. So think about that. What's a little different is we're kind of like Domino's. When you put in the order, you can see exactly on your phone, on your computer, whatever you got. You'll see where the customer is, what's going on, how it is. So you'll watch it through the process, A, B, C, D. I wanted to focus on this just for a second, because it's probably one of the most. So many of you haven't heard of us. You might have heard of some of our sister companies. We own Gerber Life. We own Western Southern, Integrity, Touchstone. You're looking at a big list over here. Columbus Life is part of Western Southern Financial Group. It's all under Compass. They're all on the same roof. They're all done together. What's so important about that? They are the highest rated. That's why I think that Vince and everybody brought us in here. We are the highest rated. We're not the biggest. We're the highest rated IUL carrier in the industry. So hard to beat. The only thing that's wrong up there is that 95 should be a 96 out of 100, and we're getting ready to go to 97. So, something to think about. We're owned and operated out of Cincinnati, mutual company, so mutually held, don't have to add. I also wanted to share something because our number 1, our number 4, and our number 7 firms in the country are all Asian. They're all Chinese. They're Trade Pacific Partnership and several others. And they love taking the trips. So we go to trips like the Bahamas, you'll see Puerto Rico, Ireland, Bermuda. And I'd love to see you guys all on it because I think you guys would have a lot of fun. So with that, I promised I would keep it short, sweet, to the point. 3 things I want to remind you of. It's not the illustration that you're selling. Most guys do. Remember, we went from 700 to 2,400, 2,300. 30 years ago to 700. Right now, think about what happens if your company sells. Think about what happens to the policy. Also look at the illustrations. Probably the most important thing, you're not selling an illustration, you're selling the company that backs the illustration. So $2.4 trillion that used to be covered by another company is now covered by a different company. So you really got to watch what you're doing and how you're doing it. Anyway, I see Simon's ready. I'm ready. I just thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for a great day. Appreciate everyone.
So as we come to the end of today's program, it's my pleasure to invite Vincent, the COO and the co-principal of the East Ocean Group, to deliver our closing remark.
Okay, hello everybody. I promise short, so everybody can go home. And I think everybody have learned a lot of stuff today, and hopefully we can remember. We will help you increase your business. But as all we know, doesn't matter how much we know, we always have the issue with the customer, say, oh, I don't need yet. Let me tell you a joke. In the whole life, you only need to worry 2 things. You either living healthy or you living sick. You living healthy, nothing to worry. If you're living sick, there are 2 things you need to worry about. You either get it better or you get it worse. If you get it better, you have nothing to worry about. But you get it worse, there's also two things you need to worry about. You're gonna either live or you're gonna die. If you live, you also have nothing to worry about. If you're gonna die, there's two things you need to worry about. You either go to heaven or you go to hell. If you go to heaven with the plan I present to you, you have nothing to worry about. If you go to hell, there's nothing set up, there's only two things will happen. You either original or extra crispy. Thank you very much, and I hope everybody go home safe, and I hope to see you guys next year.
Okay, before I conclude this meeting, please remember the following. As like last year. Number one, when you need to sell a whole life, Mass Mutual is the first choice. When you need to sell IUL with max accumulation, Allianz is the first choice. When you need to sell to foreign nationals, Symetra is first choice. When you need to sell GUL nationwide is the best choice. When you need to sell IUL with 3 living benefits, Columbus Life, National Life, and Corporate Financials are your best choices. Thank you again for your business and support. Wish you all great success in the year of the horse. Thank you.
Thank you for all of us. Thank you for our speaker and everyone here today. Today's truly highlight the strong support behind our East Ocean. We appreciate your time and participations. We're looking forward to see you next year. 非常感谢大家今天的参与哈。那今天其实也是让大家可以感受到，在East Ocean的背后有强劲的这些financial companies carrier的支持和资助啊。那当然，我们是非常欢迎大家的积极的参与，非常期待我们明年再相聚，好不好 ？OK 哈。